Bud went to school.
Do you remember when records used to skip? Or they used to get stuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wasn't that cool?
No, I don't think that's necessarily cool.
Pain in the ass?
Yeah, pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I'm not a vinyl guy. My kids for a while got into the whole, I don't know if they're still full on, but my daughters got into the whole vinyl thing. Got them record players one year. And
yeah. Have you been to Music Millennium?
I have been there. And then when we were in Japan.
Doesn't that give you like the...
Yeah, you get a little itch.
You get a little excited when you get in there.
When we were over in Japan, records are still a really big deal over there. Like they have the huge Tower Records still, and there's a bunch of independent record stores, and they love everything old and American. Like I told you, like if you've got like old concert t-shirts, you're a millionaire in Japan. Same thing with records. So we like went into some of those record stores, and it's kind of fun to look through, but in order to be a record guy, like you got to change everything. You got to buy like a fancy tube amp, and you got to change the way you dress, and you got to get new friends.
It's a bit like golf.
Yeah, it's a whole lifestyle.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, it is. And
if you really want to do it.
I'm just not ready to make that commitment.
Yeah, I get you. It's very retro now. I remember when I was a kid, and I'm now 48 years of age, I would spin my parents' records.
Yeah.
That's how I'd listen to music.
Yeah.
I'd listen to the old... was it Steppenwolf? Born to Be the Easy Rider.
Steppenwolf is like I think Born to Be Wild. Born to Be. Yeah, I think that's
the soundtrack. Was that Easy Rider or?
I don't know if that was Easy Rider or not.
Yeah, and then you got some ABBA in there and some Simon and Garfunkel and Dan Fogelberg.
I always thought it was great because when I would go to Alaska for the summers, my dad had the old school stereo that like took up the whole living room, you know, with the giant speakers and the turntable, and then he had all his records down below. And I'll give old man Sukanik credit. He actually had pretty good taste. Like he had the Stones and the Who, and like Billy Joel was the first time I heard that, and I remember being like maybe 7 or 8 and going to the I think it was Sam Goody in Anchorage, Alaska, and I bought the record of the Top Gun soundtrack.
Oh, you did?
Kenny Loggins. I went into the Danger Zone in vinyl. And like, God, that was like 1985-ish.
You weren't playing with the boys?
Oh, I played
the Danger Zone?
Oh, I played with the boys.
I love that song.
Well, who doesn't?
You know what's funny?
Greatest video of all time, by the way.
When I work in TK and we have to put the kids down for like a nap, we transitional kindergarten. So below kindergarten.
Thank you.
When we put
no one knew what he meant there. He just threw that out like it was just
sorry. It's common jargon in my line of work.
Yeah, well, you know it's not common jargon in our line of work.
Huh? Well,
you know that.
Start paying attention.
So he tried to gloss over it.
Yeah.
He was trying to.
You guys have both had kids.
I didn't like that.
None of my kids went to transitional kindergarten.
Well, maybe they should have.
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
This is defeating.
They're transitioning.
I think it's sexes? Like, well, now, preschool became a really big deal for a while.
You mean they're putting them into little schools that transition them right on the spot in kindergarten?
You son of a bitch.
Chill out, Kid Rock.
I knew it. That's it.
I knew it too.
They're probably drinking. They're drinking Bud Light. Probably.
I read that on message boards.
I can promise you, there's no Bud Light drinking. We're drinking lots of water. Sometimes there's some Capri Suns. But anyways, when we put them down for like a nap, we play the Kenny Loggins Lullaby soundtrack.
Really?
He has a lullaby soundtrack. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he talked about that at his show.
Wow. Why don't I know about this? Kenny Loggins.
Well, he's quite frankly, everything Kenny Loggins has done has been wonderful and a huge hit.
Absolutely.
And he once wrote I think he has I want to say he has now I'm going to overstep my bounds, but I think he has a children's book.
Oh.
And
a soundtrack to go with it.
And some other things about kids.
There's things.
There's some TK in there.
Yeah. It's a great lullaby.
I don't know. But he's greatness. Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I just remember going to the store and we bought, I got like an allowance. And
Will Ortner, everybody.
And we bought the vinyl. That's how old I am. I bought the record to the Top Gun soundtrack. Yeah. My kids always laugh at that and that's the oldest thing you've ever done. I'm like,
there's something about
6.
Well, there's something about the pop of the sound. The sound is really crisp, and the pop of the record.
There is a unique sound.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
So I get the people that are into it, but I'm totally with you.
Yeah, the audiophiles love it.
Just use Spotify.
Exactly. Kenny Loggins' children's book. It's called Footloose.
Oh, that makes
sense.
You
can get it for
does have $15 on Amazon Prime.
Look. Yeah. Bottom line is Kenny Loggins is responsible for your childhood. Footloose, Top Gun, and let's not forget the love theme to the greatest father and son arm wrestling movie of all time, Over the Top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's an arm wrestling movie?
a father-son arm wrestling movie with a little guy by the name of Sylvester Stallone. It's called Over the Top, and the love theme from it is by Kenny Loggins. That's called Meet Me Halfway, and you'll shed a tear.
I just can't believe we're taking kids and transitioning them so young.
I know.
Into kindergarten, you weirdo.
The damn libs, the
I know.
snowflakes.
Let's get on the school board right now and start banning books and let's burn some stuff.
It's what we have to do.
This is outrageous. And we need a better beer. We need like a manly beer, a high tea beer.
I can promise you there's no beer in transitional
Give it to the
kindergarten.
kids and butch them up a little bit. This is ridiculous.
There might be beer after transitional kindergarten, but there is no beer during.
I think I told you this when I went and saw Kenny Loggins. You know how tall he is?
I'm assuming he's a little guy.
He's 6'4".
Get right the hell out of town.
He's really tall.
No.
And skinny. Yeah, it's very...
Boy, that's alarming.
It's shocking.
I wouldn't know what to make. Because if I'm meeting Kenny Loggins, I'm assuming that like every other celebrity, he's just like I'm meeting Tom Cruise.
Very tall.
Like when you meet celebrities, it's alarming how small they are. Like when I was in college, we worked security at the what's the Robert Redford ski event? God, why can't I think of it?
The Natural?
No, he has it in Park City. The big,
I liked that. That was good. It
there's a
was a good bit.
what is the
Will's bringing it today.
there's a big movie fest in Park City, Utah.
South by North by West.
God, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Cannes.
Cannes?
No, that's in Cannes.
That's over in like Italy, right?
Yeah, it's in Cannes, right?
Where is Cannes?
I think it's in France.
Anyway, it's over in Europe. Anywho, there's a big one at Park City.
Sundance.
Sundance. Yes, we got it. There it is. Thank you. We will see you guys tomorrow, 3 to 7 on the Fan. Good night.
And so they would pay us to work security at like kind of the fancy bars, and we would just stand there and look like idiots. And one night I got to do security for Sylvester Stallone, and I was geeked, like freaking John Rambo. And I love Stallone. I was beyond excited thinking that we're going to become best friends. One, I wasn't allowed to talk to him or look at him. But he is tiny. You're like, whoa.
Shorter than you think.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he plays a badass.
Well, and you see him like he's super jacked, and he is, but he's a little fella. But still, I'm still hoping that we could become best friends. But I was specifically told to turn around and not look at him.
Right. Except he wants everyone to look at him.
It was we've talked. We've talked about it, but like he was. Like he
invited people to look at him. He made it a spectacle.
Had he just come in, it was at Harry O's, which was like this big club there, like, Willie Nelson would come play it.
Probably transitions kids.
Probably. I think it's gone now. I think it's shut down, probably because of all the transition.
A TK bar.
And if he just
the 4-year-olds were out at the bar.
That's where they take them.
It's like Sunny D's.
It's like the basement of the pizza shop.
Exactly. There's probably a basement at Harry O's. And he had this huge corner that was all VIP'd off, like with velvet ropes and me and like 5 of my idiot friends standing there and like a velvet couch. And then people just sat there and stared at him while he was like, I can't be bothered. Had he just walked in and sat down at a corner table,
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, no one would have bothered him. No one. But, then you wouldn't be Sly Stallone, man. He was like at the height of his powers. You can't be in there without the VIP.
Back to the original point, it is Rivalry Week.
Yes!
Rivalry Week.
There you go.
So welcome to it. We have a short week, short show yesterday. We have full show today and tomorrow, and then we're out of here.
Yeah, thanks.
We're out of here.
Yeah.
Because we have to go to Thanksgiving.
And then Friday, we got the Civil War, the actual game.
Yeah, Seahawks game and then a Civil War game.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So Dan Lanning's going to join us tomorrow. Hugh Offill's going to join us tomorrow. And I believe Joey Harrington's going to join us tomorrow.
Action-packed.
And who knows? Maybe even Jordan Schultz will be back.
We don't know.
Schultzy, as they call him.
We don't know what Schultz is up to.
But Will Ortner is in today.
Well, I do know what Schultz is up to, but I don't know if we can talk about it.
Oh, probably going to a TK school.
I think it involves babies.
Yeah, enrolling his kid in a TK school, isn't he?
I think he's trying to steal a baby.
Going to the basement of that.
Hopefully he's
bar.
with Nick Cage.
What?
Nick Cage?
Nick Cage is stealing babies?
No, he stole the Declaration of Independence.
What does that have to do with stealing babies?
I feel like one would be harder than the other.
I don't understand. Okay, so anyway, big show, I think. I don't know. It's going to be one of those. I can tell already. My Jayhawks play at 4:30. You'll probably lose me about 4:40, 4:45.
The best part is we're getting ready to do the show, and Rob goes, hey, is there any sports on tonight? I go, yeah, the Blazers are playing. And he looks right at me and goes, yeah, is there any sports on tonight?
That was my bit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's pretty hard.
Jerk?
Well, it's hard to watch.
Come on, man. Blazers
That stuff sucks.
Blazers Suns?
God.
Catch the fever.
It's brutal. Dude, I turned it on the other night. I tried to watch them. They were losing by 50. I turned it on. They were down 50.
You never know who's playing.
Oh, my God.
Some random G League guys in there every now and then. There's that dude with like the terrible receding hairline. Is it Bouye or whatever, the guard?
They're a joke. I take back everything I said about trading Damian Lillard. That was a mistake.
Yeah, it's rough.
They shouldn't have done that.
It's rough right now. And anyone they do have that's hurt, it's not good.
Yeah. All right.
It's not good.
Well, who cares about them?
Hey, the Red Wings play at 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Red Wings Devils, come on.
Rivalry week.
It's Rivalry week,
Mhm.
and so let's get into it. You want to get into some Rivalry?
What about Bowling Green, Western Michigan? That tickle you?
Well, like I said last week, I wish I was into action.
Mm.
I think my life would be more. I think my life would be enhanced
Yeah.
if I were really into action, but I'm not.
Because you got Bowling Green, Western Michigan, and Eastern Michigan and Buffalo.
Yeah.
So if you like directional Michigan
You
schools,
like that?
tonight is your night.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think.
Catch it.
No, I don't.
2.5 point spread on that, so it's supposed to be a competitive game.
But my Jayhawks are playing Marquette. It's
Yeah.
a top 5 matchup.
Marquette just got done taking care of UCLA.
And we also have Tennessee Purdue, which is a top 10 matchup. So
All right, well,
the Maui over
look-
there in Maui Invitational.
Look at that.
Looking pretty sexy.
Were you watching the big Florida A&M game yesterday?
No, but I heard they won because I listened to it on my favorite radio station.
Ah, you couldn't peel yourself away from hot.
Well, it was close.
Rattlers
At least
Duck.
that game was close. Thanks, Blazers. All right.
All right, focus.
True story.
Well, commercial, then focus.
Yep. Our poll question is next. It pertains to Rivalry Week and the Ducks and the Beavers. That's next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football.
with that. I think he just threw out Nick Cage. But yes, in a roundabout way, he was correct that at some point Nick Cage did steal a baby. And that movie is greatness.
He steals lots of stuff. I'm sorry, I got my movies confused where he stole something.
I'll be taking these Huggies and whatever cash you got. Raising Arizona is wonderful. John Goodman as well.
Here is our poll question on X at 1080 The Fan, as always brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling, family business, helping families for over 60 years, AAAIAQ.com. Yesterday it was, you have to win one game. Who is your QB1? And shockingly, Bo Nix beat Michael Penix.
Yeah.
74% to 26%.
Well, I mean, I voted for him, but if you would have asked me that after week 6 or 7, I would have said Michael Penix all day, but Penix just hasn't looked the same since the Oregon game, and Bo has yet to play a bad game. So give credit where credit's due.
Today's question.
And they got the the Biletnikoff Award and some of these awards that are coming out now, and you're starting to see some recognition for. I mean, this whole offense for Oregon. So they got one on the Outland Trophy, they got one on the Biletnikoff, all the quarterback offensive player of the year awards with Bo Nix, but they did the Doak Walker today, and no Bucky Irving.
Really?
No, he's not one of the semifinalists. But Damian Martinez made it. Only one from the Pac-12. So no Ott at Cal, no Bucky, but Martinez made it.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, is that bothersome?
I don't know. I mean, he's best running back.
He's really good.
He's really good, but he splits carries, and
Exactly.
he doesn't play in the fourth quarter of games, and
Still has 1,000 yards on the year.
Yeah. I think he's one of the best backs, but he just, every year these awards get released and people get pissed and they're like, well, this guy didn't get, nominated or this and that. But anyway, just kind of one of those of all the positions. I would have thought that Bucky would have made because I think they released like 8 finalists. I thought he would have made it.
Well, who else is on there? And then we can get really mad.
Well, there's a couple of them that should be on there that are not. I thought it was kind of a wonky list, but I'd have to go and pull it up for you. But
all right. Well, I'm going to give you the poll question then.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you the poll.
Give me the poll because I do not have the answer to your question in front of me.
Today's poll on X at 1080 The Fan is, what are you most sure of this rivalry week? Rivalry
week.
Ducks pound Beavers. Beavers stun Ducks. Ohio State stings Michigan. Maybe Maryland too. I don't know. Iowa, Nebraska under 26.5.
By the way, if you haven't been following along, this is just cashing left and right. They keep setting, because at one point this season, 30.5 was the lowest point total over under in NCAA history. And Iowa hit it. And twice they've dropped it. And they've still hit it. And now this is an all-time low of 26.5. And you know what? I'm still taking the under. The answer to that question is the under.
I have bet the over twice.
Yeah, you got burned.
This last week I bet it because I'm like, oh, come on. They're going to go over eventually. And the final score was 15-13. It went under by 3.5 points. The other time I bet it was the previous all-time low. It was 28.5 when they played.
They've played Minnesota. They played Rutgers.
Rutgers. They played Rutgers.
Yeah.
And I took the under. I was like, no way. That's got no. Come on. And the final score was 22-0. So I will be up at A here in the next couple of days, placing wagers.
See what's up.
All of every fiber in my body, and there are a lot of fibers in my body, wants to bet the over because these are they're too low. They're just 26.
Is it too low?
Well, now
is it?
I've been burned twice. I don't know that I can do it.
My big one half of the Big Ten champion, Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, they're good. I mean, defense is really good.
Defense is really good.
But I've watched Nebraska play. I had them last week against Wisconsin, and it's like, oh my God, 26.5 may be shockingly high.
Is that Sims guy? Is he back? Because I know that he was hurt, and I'm not
the guy that played against Colorado.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, because if he's there, you should set that at like 20. Because Nebraska ain't scoring.
No, they benched him.
I know, and then he got hurt, but I think he's played back and forth. I don't know about you. I haven't watched a lick of Nebraska in the last probably month and a half.
I watched him last week.
I'm sorry. I really am. Sorry you subjected yourself
Tell you
to
what,
that.
that's good little run defense out there.
Wait till they run into the majestic team that is the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Boy, yeah, that might be the lock of the week right there. So what are you most sure of this rivalry week? Ducks pound Beavers. Beavers stun Ducks. Ohio State stings Michigan. Or Iowa, Nebraska under 26.5. Vote hard on X.
Oh, and I will. I'll be mashing. This is like Ravens preseason. You can't set that number low enough. I'll be riding Iowa until they buck me off. And you know what? If I lose, then that's fine because I cashed 4 weeks in a row. I'm riding that gravy train,
well,
baby.
if you're riding that train, I'm going the other way. F you.
Do it.
I'm doing it.
See how that works.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win one.
I'm cashing checks every week on the back of Iowa's offensive ineptness.
Yeah, Nebraska's quarterback's name is Chubba Purdy.
What?
Yeah, and he looks like Brock. I would imagine he's his brother, but I don't know that.
He's not Hubbard's brother?
What?
Chubba Hubbard, never mind.
Chuba Hubbard, the running back?
Same thing.
I got
It's
a
spelled the
scoreboard
same
on
way.
Will Ortner.
I'm 50% right
He's
now.
2 for 4 today.
Yeah, I'm 2 for 4. Hey, but you know what? That's Hall of Fame numbers in baseball.
But you know what? Shoot or shoot.
That's right.
You got to keep shooting.
They
Yeah.
call me the J.R. Smith of dad jokes.
By the way, Iowa, since 2002, they have had 9 games where the over-under has been 34.5 or below,
Mm-hmm.
and they are 9-9. They have covered
9-9?
every
You
single.
mean 9-0?
Yeah, well, 9 for 9, I guess. 9-0. Yes.
You ruined the punchline.
Did I?
Yeah, because now I'm like, wait, 9-9. That's 50%.
9-4-9. Did I say 9? 9-4-9.
And you can't. And you just kind of ruined it.
9
You
times.
ruined the delivery of the.
9
Oh my God!
times they have said it at 34.5,
I'm going over.
and they are 9 for 9.
Nebraska's going to cover the over by themselves.
Well, just,
31
how
nothing.
many times can you get burned by the
Well,
greatness that is Iowa?
Apparently 3.
You fool.
They are brothers.
Although 26.5 does scare me a little bit.
I
That's-
mean, come on. What are the odds that Chubba Purdy, who looks like Brock Purdy, isn't his brother? What are the odds?
I don't know.
Put the odds on it.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, they're brothers.
Okay.
So he's playing quarterback for Nebraska. And let me tell you, he sucks. Okay.
That goes without saying.
But they're going to drop 31 on Iowa.
We'll see about that.
So anyway, yeah, we've got Beavers and Ducks to get ready for here.
The Civil War, which I'm calling it.
The Civil War, yes.
Yeah, we noodled around with trying to come up with a different name for it, and no, screw you. It's the Civil War, and I don't give a damn. It's the Civil War. Everyone calls it the Civil War. I don't know why they went away from it. Dennis Dixon had a problem with it. I don't know. It's the Civil War. Sorry.
Well,
And
I
hopefully,
can't wait to watch it.
And hopefully it comes back. We got the Apple Cup for the next 5 years until someone determines that we can't call it the Apple Cup anymore because some sort of apple picker is upset about it. But yeah, hopefully that someone can come to an agreement here and we get a little Civil War action moving forward.
Did you see that they are playing the fourth quarter of last year's Civil War on loop at the Oregon facilities?
Are they?
Yeah.
Just watching Oregon State run it, whatever it was, 31 plus times in a row?
Well, I had to go back and refresh my memory on that game. We all know what happened.
Yes.
But I went back and looked, and boy.
Was it 31-10?
It was 31-10, yes.
31-10.
And 34-17 in the fourth quarter.
And Oregon State did not attempt a pass.
Correct.
For like the final quarter and a half.
Correct.
And
so
won.
it was 34-17 Oregon, and then they lost 38-34. But I went and looked closer at the numbers. How often does a team win with these numbers? Oregon State was outgained by 142 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They lost the turnover battle 3-0. They got fewer first downs by 7, and they held the ball for 10 fewer minutes.
And they won.
Yeah. And they didn't throw a pass in the fourth quarter. And they won. What? That game was such an anomaly.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Well, it's funny because I remember laying on my couch and like every now and then, like I'll kind of tweet through a game. And when Oregon scored to go up, 31-10 from what I remember. I remember I even tweeted out, I was like, crap, we were all hoping this was going to be a good one, but that's the nail in the coffin. And then there was like, there just kept being like, is this still a game? I think this can't still be a game. And then they had the punt, right? That went awry down in their own end. And it was like, holy crap, like Oregon State's going to do this. That is one of the more shocking games. If you would have told me when it went to 31-10, you could have put any odds and I would have been like, I would not have put $1 on Oregon State coming back. That team was dead in the water. They were getting manhandled. They couldn't throw the ball at all.
Not so fast.
How the hell did they win that game?
Well,
I'll never forget that one. That was amazing.
now Well, let's come back and talk a little bit more about Friday's game.
Yeah.
Because now you've got a couple of things at play that I don't know. I'm usually wrong, but I tend to think are factors in football games, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
Was that an exciting tease?
I like it. I wish the factor that we were talking about was the simple fact that this game was for the Pac-12 title or the right to go, but
It's not.
it's not.
And that's where one of my big factors in the game comes in.
That's a bummer. I wanted to look up real quick. So if I would have told you before that Civil War game, that old Ben Gobranson, remember Ben?
Oh yeah.
I told you before the
He's
game.
still there.
He's the third string.
Yeah.
Who's
He's
second string?
Childs.
Childs.
Oh yeah.
Freshman. So if I would have told you before that game that Ben Gobranson was going to go the entire way and he was going to go 6 of 13 for 60 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks, you would have told me that score is what? Is what? 56-7? He went
He's
6
like
of,
Zach Wilson.
6 of 13 with 2 picks, and they won.
All right, more hot, super hot, scalding Civil War talk here on Rivalry Week. Coming up next, but first, Ortner with SportsCenter.
This is Rivalry Week on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
And
I don't know. If you are offended, I'm sorry. Can I do that apology?
I'm not.
To anyone who's, isn't that the standard apology now? If I have offended anyone,
Yes.
I don't really care, but I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. It's the Civil War.
I don't really get why that's
I don't know.
so offensive. So I don't apologize.
Is there a dead soldier somewhere from however many years ago that's bothered by that?
And if you would like us to change the name, I'm all for it. Just tell me what to call it.
And make it something that doesn't
You can't
suck.
just say we can't call it this anymore and then not give it a new name.
Yeah, it's the Civil War.
Get out of here with that. So you want to talk about courage?
Yeah.
This radio show has it.
Yes.
We're calling it the Civil War.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. The game is on Friday, and we have it here on the Fan.
You're the West Coast Clay Travis. He would have the courage to do that.
I don't think you have ever insulted me more.
I don't think I could insult you more.
Yeah, I don't think you ever will insult me more than
That's
that.
about as bad as it gets.
My God. He's probably talking about transition K schools.
Oh, 100%. He's going to catch a clip of Will saying
TK.
that. He's coming after Will. Will's going to be the poster
Radio
child.
host in Portland.
Bring it on, Clay.
You
Bring
woke
it on.
POS.
You couldn't handle Clay and his man boobs.
No.
I can't wait for that dad bod piece of garbage to come after me. Meet me in the A gap, loser.
What?
I think we're talking Oklahoma drill
Was that
at
a
that point.
football?
I believe
Yes,
that. Yeah.
that's
Like
an
a-
Oklahoma reference.
You're speaking Japanese.
We're going full T right there. Will's all teed up. Let's do it.
Meet me in the A gap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that next time I get in a fight at Fred Meyer. Meet me in the C gap.
Dude, I saw
For you, A gap.
I saw an old man with a
Going
collapsible
outside, Bill?
baton walking his dog.
I'm sorry, what?
I saw an old man with a collapsible baton walking his dog.
Does he beat the thing?
I don't know, but he was walking and it looked like he had like a, I don't know, it was just this weird kind of little piece of metal. And he asked me about my dog, and I was like, "What do you got there?" And he was very excited. He whipped it out. I was like, "Ha!
Check this out.
Yeah!" And I was like, "Wow! I guess you just, I guess when you're out on a walk and
Gotta have protection.
yeah, man, when you're in my neighborhood, you never know what could pop up.
I saw a story today that said 40% of Americans are afraid to go out on a walk.
Not this man.
40%.
Well, I just thought of all the neighborhoods that you could be walking, that's the one you need a collapsible baton. I guess maybe if someone shanks one off of like the third tee box and you get into an argument with him, that guy's got a 5-iron, you got to have your collapsible baton ready.
So the odds makers don't give you much wiggle room in the edge department, as you well know.
Yeah.
And so this line, this spread, as we talked about with Hugh Offill from A last week, is 14.
Yeah.
Oregon is favored by 14.
Yeah. That's a big
That
number.
is big number.
Look, I don't know if I'll take this, but to me, there's only one side, and that's taking the Beavs and the points. It's
I
just-
disagree. I think
you
there's.
think, you think
Well,
you,
let me bring up a couple of things, and this is what I was teasing. There are a couple of things. You tell me if you think these could possibly be factors. And
Sure.
these are outside things, or not really outside things, just situational things that this game to me right now looks a lot different than it did 2 weeks ago.
sure.
And there are two reasons for that. One is I'm terribly afraid that the Beavers' last stand was that UW game,
Yeah.
and that defeat will linger. They don't have
beat you
much.
twice.
They don't have much left to play for.
No.
And if you couple that with Oregon's, Oregon one is rolling, but two, they're pissed after last year. I mean, they are going to be on tilt, and that's not good. We've seen them. That Colorado game was the last time, maybe USC, but that Colorado game, dude, they came out pissed.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened. So there's that. The second thing is, and I wonder how much there is to this, Jonathan Smith's name keeps popping up at Michigan State. And as you well know, every year in November, we watch it like clockwork where if a coach is sniffing around another job or almost has landed another job, his team goes south.
You have one on this, and I'm with you. I think this is a thing. I have no idea whether or not Jonathan Smith is sniffing around or if his name just keeps popping up. Dave Bartu always says this time of the year, 99% of what you hear is crap. The other 1% is intentionally leaked. So I don't know. I have no idea if Jonathan Smith is interested in the Michigan State.
Well, there's a third factor too. And this is more tangible. The defensive back situation for Oregon State is not pretty.
No, getting beat up. They played well.
Arnold is, well, they did, and that's the thing is like they had two freshman corners in there,
Played really well.
and they held Michael Penix to his lowest passing total of the season.
Yeah.
But against Oregon, and again, it's equal level of good opponent here. I'm not saying Oregon's that much better than Washington, but some of that was the weather in that game.
Yeah.
But Achille Arnold is. So I was listening to Jonathan Smith today. He said we'll see by the end of the week with Arnold. He's with Ryan Cooper. He said he came out okay, but Jaden Robinson, they said they're optimistic but not certain.
Yeah, so you got a couple guys beat up. The
So
nice
that's
part,
three key guys.
The nice part, Cooper there, because even though he's their nickelback, he's their best cover corner. Look, I understand. To me, it just comes down to the Beavs don't really get blown out. I think the style they play isn't really conducive to getting blown out. In fact, you go back the last 2 years, the one at Utah got away from them last year, right, where they got smacked around.
Well, there's one,
and that's the only one. That's the only one where they have been blown out. So their losses this year, right, 22-20 against Washington, the 38-36 against Washington State, and then the 27-24. And like I said, to me, all of that, I understand that they had nothing to play for other than your departing game in the Pac-12 against the school that you can say is the one that actually crippled the Pac-12 and possibly sent you into obscurity. You have an opportunity to give them the big FU and keep them out of a national title, out of a Pac-12 title game. To me, the motivational factor just isn't going to be a thing. If anything, I think it's going to be the other way that, that may have been a last stand against Washington under normal circumstances, but against this team, I just don't think motivation is going to be a thing, because sometimes playing spoiler is actually more freeing and more, I don't know, just you can get up more for it.
I don't see it.
Because if you're playing for a spot in the Pac-12 title, you can get a little nervous. You can get like, oh my God, we're right here. But when you've got nothing to play for, you're a 14-point dog against your rival who just got done killing your conference. Everyone's writing you off and talking about how Oregon's going to win a national title, and you get to go in there and take one and shove it where the sun don't shine.
I don't know, man.
I remember a number of years ago, I don't remember what year it was, Jeremiah Johnson, old Silky Johnson, Oregon State, all they had to do was beat Oregon and they go to the Rose Bowl, and it was in Reeser. I don't remember what year it was. And Oregon didn't really have anything to play for. Oregon wasn't having a great year. And all the Beavers down there in Corvallis, they brought out roses. All the kids had the roses out, and the players and this and that. And I remember walking around down on the field before the game, and I turned to my buddy and I was like, dude, this feels like one team thinks they already won and one team's coming to kick their ass. And look, I'm not saying that Oregon's going to overlook anyone. Dan Lanning,
that's not happening.
He has done a phenomenal job of keeping everyone focused.
Not after last year.
I wouldn't think so. And again, like you said, I guess they're playing the fourth quarter on a loop at the Oregon facility. But if there's an element of, hey, man, you're buying your own brand and everyone thinks you're great and you think this is going to be a cakewalk because the Beavs don't have anything to play for, be careful in these sorts of games because they can jump up and bite you in the ass. And like I said, I think Oregon State, the way they play, I don't think it's really conducive to getting blown out.
I think you're talking yourself into that, dude. This has Ducks blowout written all over it. Basically, Oregon State is an 8-4 team with a coach who may be leaving, coming off a devastating loss. I don't know, man. That's why I think this line is so high. They can only make it so high because Oregon State's good and it's a rivalry game. But Oregon basically blew them out last year, and that was in Corvallis. And Oregon's much better this year. I don't know if I'm going to bet it because that's a big number to lay. But this screams. I do think there's a scenario where this screams the Oregon side. I don't know.
I think if Martinez can run the football well, and that Oregon State offensive line is one of the top 9 in the country right now. They're up for the Joe Moore Award, which is the best offensive line in the country. This game will stay close because their best defense is their offense. Yeah. If Martinez can run the ball well, and Fenwick and DJU, he runs the ball well, they're going to have 7, 8, 9-minute drives on this Oregon defense, and that's what's going to keep it close.
When you look at that, and it ended up kind of biting him in the ass against Washington because they went on that 10-minute drive to pull it within, what did they pull within 2, right? Yeah, they pulled within 2. And then they got the ball back with like 6 minutes left or whatever, and it was like, hey, we're going to go do it again, and we're going to bleed every second of this, kick a field goal. Well, didn't work out. But they are capable of going on those drives and keeping Oregon sitting on. That's why I said I just don't think their style is really indicative of a team that gets blown out. And like I said, they don't get blown out. And for all the good Oregon stats they have, and believe me, they're Oregon's basically top 3 in almost every statistical category in offense and defense. But you know who's in the top 4 or 5 basically in every statistical category? Oregon State. Like Oregon right now is the number 1, tied for the number 1 scoring defense in the Pac-12 with UCLA at 16.7. The Beavs are 5th at 20. Again, and you can just go down rushing defense, passing defense. Oregon is right near the top, and right behind them, 1 or 2 spots in most cases, is Oregon State, including rushing. You know,
I smell a bet.
I'll take it. If you're going to give me 14.5 points, I'll
14 and a half. How'd you you just added a hook.
Was it it's just 14?
It's 13 and a half, actually. I just checked it, A.
Okay. Well,
But
you told me 14. I'll take 14.
I think it was 14. Well,
I'll
you
take-
added 14 and a half.
I'll take 14 points.
That's significant.
I'll take 14.
Taser bet.
God.
Well, he still owes me from the last bet, which we never paid off.
What was that?
I don't know what we bet,
You
but
don't know what you're talking about.
I do, because we were like, we bet on something, and I don't remember what the hell it was, but I've never received my payment this year.
Well, you're not gonna get that.
Well, so here we go. I will take my Beavs.
45-20.
I'll take my Beavs and 14 points.
Okay. Also, this FIBU thing. You know, come on. Who stands a chance against FIBU?
FIBU.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I know.
Dan Lanning wore a shirt that says FIBU.
You want to? Should we sit here in silence until Sook figures that out?
Well, I think that's what the break's for.
FIBU.
Yeah. Are you thinking about it?
Well, I just Googled it, and
Just think about it.
okay.
Think about Lanning. You know him, and
All
think
right.
about his mantras.
That's. Are we really going with
FIBU.
that?
Yeah.
Are we really going?
Well, that's what he did. He
Are we
wore
really
a shirt.
going F everyone? That's
F everyone but us.
but us.
Yep. They said
Wait.
it was a 1 of 1.
Oh my God! Are we doing the we're
No,
being
he wore-
disrespected thing?
Well, yes. You know how-
Everyone loves Oregon.
well, but the coaches.
Everybody.
You know that coaches do this with their teams
What?
in every locker room across the country. It's us against the world.
So everyone from
F
Herb
everyone.
Street to Urban, there
F
is
'em.
no one on a
That's right.
national basis that isn't saying Oregon is a national title type team, and we're doing the F.
F 'em.
everyone.
F 'em.
What?
Yeah, so people were like, "Hey, we need this shirt. I'll buy that in a second." And then I guess somebody chimed in. One of the coaches said that it was just one shirt.
All right,
Dan Lanning was the only one that had it on.
Sure.
F everyone but us.
All right.
Us against the world.
Well, now I want more points.
The performative us against the world is at it again.
Oregon by 50.
I was gonna say, yeah. Now you want any piece of that action?
I didn't understand.
FIBU.
I didn't know we were FIBUing.
What's up with the Chiefs in the second half? Next on the Fan.
The home of dirt
get two good teams.
I know.
Like,
Well,
why
now
don't they figure that out?
well, you can flex Monday night games moving forward.
I
so.
know, but they. Well, I guess you can't really on Thursday night. Really, I mean, I know they do some, but it has to be like way in advance.
Yeah. Well, now I know going forward after this next one, you can flex the Monday night games, but there's some. It has to be a game that is owned by ABC, Disney. So, it's not every game, but hopefully this means as we move forward, we won't get any more duds, at least in Monday night. You would hope. Because I think like the Packers and the Jets play at some point.
Oh, come on.
There's some
Bears play next week.
I think that
What?
one. I think that one is still under protection.
I was gonna say I think
Why?
it's the Bears Vikings.
That's
Because
this week, isn't it?
well, it's like
Oh, that is. Yeah, you're right. Bears Vikings. Yeah,
so
this
that's-
Monday.
I think it's after this Monday they can start flexing. I'm fairly certain that Bears game is still protected.
Good grief.
But moving forward after that, you can flex them, and there's definitely some stinkers.
What's up with the? Well, that was a good game. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was.
Two good teams going after it.
Yep.
What's up with the Chiefs in the second halves, man? They can't score.
No, well, look, it's not the same team that we're used to seeing. I mean, it's not. It's a lot like the team we had last year that, by the way, won a Super Bowl. So I love the fact that everyone now is writing off the Kansas City Chiefs where they should have won that game last night.
Don't we do this every year?
Exactly. This is the dumbest thing in the world.
Do we not learn anything?
But it's easy to say when you look at Kansas City, to me, what happened. So they made a decision, obviously, with Tyreek Hill, that they had to rebuild their roster, right? They couldn't just become an aging roster with an aging Travis Kelce, a Tyreek Hill, and a Pat Mahomes. So they let Hill go. They recouped some draft assets. They rebuilt their defense. They went out and spent on their offensive line. And by the way, they won a Super Bowl. So anyone saying that this team somehow botched it with the whole Tyreek Hill thing, they won a Super Bowl without him. But the offensive line didn't pay off the way that they hoped it would, and so they had to go out and get 2 new tackles. Kelce, as good as he is not the same player. He's 4 years old, and have you seen that he's talking about retiring?
Really?
Yeah, he just says that it's getting harder and harder, that his body is just starting to wear down. And he's great, but he's not the same player. And by the way, they double him on almost every play. Like you watch any of the videos, so they have a linebacker with a safety over the top of him almost every time. And on third down, a lot of times they'll put a bigger corner and a safety over the top of him. So they're taking him away. And the other receivers that they were relying on, like the Sky Moore never turned into a thing. Valdez-Scantling can't catch to save his life. Like literally, he has more deep drops than anyone in the NFL by like 6. It's ridiculous.
And number 2 is Tony.
Yeah. Tony didn't work out the way they were hoping since he came over. Who was the other one? Hardman never became a thing, and Hardman left and then came back, and he's not any good. So they just have missed. And by the way, Pacheco is okay, but he's not he just runs really hard. Edwards-Helaire is not what he was. So like you've seen kind of what happens is in the world of the NFL, you have to make decisions. And they've let guys go, and other guys have gotten older, and other guys haven't really developed. But what has worked for Kansas City is they've rebuilt their defense into a top 5 unit in the NFL. I mean, that's a defense that completely shut down Philadelphia for the vast majority of that game, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 drives. And by the way, you're not shutting down Philly all game. But that defense had the clamps on Philadelphia. If they don't have the Kelce fumble, if they just catch a ball, the deep ball that Valdez-Scantling, then it's not even a game. Like Kansas City wins by double digits going away. So there are issues with Kansas City. It is not anywhere near the peak of what Kansas City was during their prime, but they won with essentially this same team, but with this year having a better defense because this defense has grown up. So if you ask me right now who I'm taking in the AFC in the playoffs, I'm still not betting against the Chiefs because hopefully eventually the stupid penalties and the drops. Oh, by the way, how about Watson dropping 2 balls, including the 4th and 20 to end the game? It went right through his hands. I mean, my God.
Didn't they say they were the youngest defense in the NFL? Did I hear them say that last night?
Wouldn't shock me. It's all fairly new. And
I didn't realize. I mean, I knew they revamped it with young guys, but I didn't realize it was the youngest in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of studs.
Yeah, they're good.
I mean, they got guys out there hunting. And so to me, when I look at what's wrong with this, is like, by the way, New England did this. To say that you can't win without an elite, I heard the narrative today that you can't win a Super Bowl without an elite receiver. Oh my God, people are stupid. You did it last year. And by the way, Tom Brady did it 6 times. Tom Brady never won a Super Bowl with an elite receiver. Not once. The year they had Randy Moss, they went undefeated, but lost. His best receiver that he won with was Julian Edelman or Wes Welker. No offense.
Deion Branch. He won an MVP.
Deion Branch.
He won an MVP in the Super Bowl.
And then,
I was going to say, in the Super Bowl.
And then
did.
Seattle paid him. Deion Branch is the definition of meh. So like it can be can be done, and they
Super
did it
Bowl
last
MVP
year.
Winner.
So I'll say this: the margin for error in Kansas City, it's just not what it was, and they are vulnerable. I mean, clearly.
Well, Mahomes will bail him out. He usually does.
Yes, but you gotta.
And their defense is good. I mean, come on.
The drops.
They'll be fine.
The drops are alarming. Like it's comical. I mean, it is absolutely comical how many. Not just like the Kelsey had the drop on third down, but he caught the one on fourth, and now people are like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with Kelsey?" He dropped a pass, but
Tay-Tay's in his kitchen.
But the Valdez-Scantling thing is that's a trend. Like he's stone hands.
Same with Tony. Same with Sky Moore.
Yeah, they're just
His ass.
And then Watson. By the way, if you're going to be a undersized white receiver, you can't be dropping balls.
Right.
Like it's just that's what else do we have you here for? Yeah. Like. You're gritty and
You're
white.
too white.
You're too white. You got to be able to catch the ball. You got to catch it.
They tried to recreate Tyreek Hill with Sky Moore, with Tony, with MVS. If one of those guys had turned into Tyreek Hill like they were hoping, they'd be fine. They just had 3 misses.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you look at some of the receivers, and this is what Kansas City was thinking. And I get it. Like when they let Tyreek Hill go, look at the receivers that have come into the league over the last 3 years, from Jefferson to Chase to Drake London to all the receivers down in Houston that are out there killing it.
AJ Brown.
It's just, well, I mean, those guys are older, but yeah, Addison.
They're 4.
I'm just talking like, just in the last couple years, like, dude, there are studs across the board that are coming out. And so Kansas City looked at it and was like, we'll be fine. And Will's right. They haven't hit. And if one of those, that's why I thought maybe at the trade deadline that Kansas City would have been the market for one of those guys to go out. Because if you put an elite receiver on Kansas City, if like you dealt like Devontae Adams or whatever, who was supposedly was going to be for sale there with out of Vegas, or one of the other teams that's just tanking and go out and get one of those guys, you put an elite receiver on Kansas City and none of these problems exist. And we're not talking about it. But, right now Kansas City looks vulnerable, but Philadelphia looks vulnerable, but they're 9-1.
I'm going to take my Ravens in the AFC.
Yeah. By the way, Zay Flowers is another one. Give Kansas City Zay Flowers. Like there's so many young receivers. The thing about Baltimore that scares me is just the injury history, because they always get hurt, and now the second best tight end in the league is out, and he's such a big part of what they do. And remember, Lamar hasn't finished a season in a long time. And so every time he runs, if I'm Baltimore, my pucker factor is like at 13.
All right, we've got college football QB nuggies, and the college football playoff rankings are coming out.
Yeah, maybe a top 4 for Utah, or not Utah, but UW.
Wouldn't that be awesome if they put Utah at 4?
That would be great.
That'd help Oregon.
That would. Although it matters not. Like who gives a crap who's, Oregon and Washington, it doesn't matter where you go, because it all depends on what happens the next 2 weeks.
We'll keep you posted on that. When we return, it's 401 on the Fan.
or Sprague or whatever, I'll text in to one of the hosts.
Yeah, to their phones.
Yeah, to the phone.
Because we have access to their
that's
phone.
right. Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't have Danny's number, but I can text Dusty. But yeah, if you wanted to put this in your phone,
You should.
yeah, 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford.
It's
They
how
treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com.
It's how you reach us. We
Yeah.
read them all.
Yeah, we read them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not all, but we see them.
We see them.
Most of them.
We try.
Yeah.
We try.
Some of you are morons. And then others of you are great
Yeah.
and funny. So it's kind of hard, and there's all that stuff in between.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
I
like-
always wonder if because we don't really, you don't know anybody's number
No.
off the top of your head at the
No.
station. Like one of the other hosts could easily be chiming in on the text line.
100%.
And we would have no idea.
No, but some of the guys that want to be recognized, they'll sign them. Like we'll get
Well, like Chuck from accounting last week.
Chuck from accounting. Yeah, you just if you want us to know who you are, just sign
Yeah,
your
just put your name on
put
it.
your name on it.
So somebody texted into the Vancouver Ford text line. They said, "I've seen Troy Franklin projected to be picked by the Chiefs." That'd
Yeah.
be nice.
Absolutely.
Troy
Well,
Franklin, man.
This wide receiver class is going to be ridiculous.
Well, and Franklin, don't you think he's like? I mean, that dude is so good. Nobody really talks about him.
No.
Everybody's talking about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah. Well, I've said it all year long that when you look at Odunze and you look at Franklin, their numbers are just as good, if not better, in categories than Marvin Harrison Jr. But you know how it works when you have and by the way, I'm taking nothing away from Marvin Harrison Jr. The guy is freaking amazing. But once you get labeled as this generational talent, it's really hard to get anyone to believe that someone's better than you. Caleb Williams has this, right? Like we went in hearing that Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And quite frankly, he wasn't that good this year. He's amazing. He's really good. But like we just hold on to this, like, well, no, this was the narrative. And it's hard to get people to think outside the box. And I think that's with Harrison Jr. But to be honest with you, the person that's been the best receiver in the country this year is Malik Neighbors down at LSU. Look at his numbers. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd what him and Jaden Daniels are doing down there. But Odunze and Franklin, and you just look at people coming out next year in the draft that are eligible to come out, from like Johnny Wilson at Florida State and Coleman and Worthy out at Texas. USC's got 3 of them that are going to be top 3 picks. The kid out of McMillan out of Arizona, if he comes out, Washington with Odunze and Polk. I mean, there are so many really good receivers in this year's draft. It might be the best class or the best position at any group coming out of the draft. So if you're Kansas City or someone that's in need of a receiver, you're not going to need a top 10 pick to get someone that is going to project out to be a really, really good player. In fact, there's going to be some first-round talents that probably slip into the second round in this year's draft just because it's so deep.
Hey, I've got a little late-breaking sports news.
What do you got?
You guys want some late-breaking
You
sports
know
news?
I love late-breaking news.
Scoot Henderson is no longer a member of my remix.
What a career. What a stint.
Yeah.
Remix legend.
Remix Hall of Famer.
Scoot Henderson.
He was there for a day. Well, actually, a couple of hours.
Yes.
I read before the show, I'm like, oh my God, they're putting Scoot with my remix. And then now, just moments ago, I saw his stint with the remix is over.
Yeah. Would that have gotten you to go to a remix game?
Yeah.
Because I think like
not much is going to get me to go to a remix game.
I saw a highlight the other day and it appeared that there were 40 people there.
40.
40.
Is that good or bad?
I think that's bad.
I feel like that's good.
Well, I get the
We're
press.
lucky to have 40.
I get the press releases, so I know when they win or lose, they're 3-3. They just got done taking care of the Ontario Clippers.
Thank God I'm not on that
You
list.
don't get the releases?
No.
Oh yeah.
I love their logo though. I think it's a cool brand. But Scoot, they were going to put him down there for conditioning,
Yeah.
and now they're not.
No.
The new floor is cool though, and you can get hand fruit,
Haven't
whatever
seen
that
it.
means.
Hand fruit.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone tweeted out the menu at the snack bar, and then they were trying everything on the snack bar. I got really bored over the weekend.
What is hand fruit? Like, isn't all fruit hand fruit?
It's like a fruit cup. You just pick.
I don't know. I didn't get to see the picture.
Like
they
grapes?
they were teasing it for the next day, and I forgot to go find them again. But they have hand fruit.
I've never had fruit any other way than with my hands.
Some
you don't eat
people
with
eat
a
it with
fork?
a fork.
Sometimes, I mean, like cantaloupe or something. Like
no-
if it's diced up, you just fork it.
well, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, like pineapple. Or
Yeah, like if it's sliced up, but even then, you got me 50-50.
maybe strawberries.
I raw dog. Nah, dude, I raw dog it. I just grab them with my mitts and have at it. Also, controversy. I don't wash my fruit.
I don't either. Who cares?
You know, I get a lot of flack for it at my house.
Yeah.
And look, I understand that there's probably pesticides on there and other things, but like you're telling me that running it underwater for like 3 seconds, that's gonna like I accept the risk that comes with fruit.
Hallelujah.
I just like whatever.
Haven't died yet.
Exactly.
Bring it.
Yeah. I got no time for washing fruit.
So there's your breaking news. Who feels worse? Okay, I was thinking about Valdez Scantling dropping that pass.
Yeah.
Not who feels worse. Who do you feel worse for? The wide receiver who drops the game-winning touchdown. The kicker who misses the game-winning field goal. Or I was even thinking about maybe like a soccer nerd who misses the game-winning penalty kick, because those seem so easy.
Yeah. The soccer guy, because you can die over that.
Well, no, the Colombian guy, he kicked the ball into the wrong goal.
And they killed you.
Yeah, he was dead.
I'm just
Still
saying,
dead.
I'm just super dead. I'm saying that soccer around the world, I feel bad for those people because as crazy as we are, like in the country, we get it. Like you see it every year where someone botches something. And who was recently? Oh, it was Justin Jefferson was getting a lot of crap from fantasy owners.
Why? Because he's not playing?
Because he's not playing. And he had to come out and tell people to go away. Like I get that we get some.
Did he have to do that?
Well, he did.
I don't think he did. Ignore the fantasy dorks.
We get harassed, out here, our sports athletes, but other countries, it's way, way worse. Like they'll burn your house down. So the answer to that question is soccer.
That's a good point.
It's soccer guy.
Yeah.
Soccer guy.
Because no one feels bad for kicker guy.
No.
I mean, come on, you have one job.
Yeah.
But then again, so does the wide receiver.
It's true. Like I would say, which one is worse to me, dropping the touchdown pass versus missing the kick?
That's more egregious.
It's more egregious. I'm not saying I feel
if it's catchable, you should haul it in.
Yeah. Like what happened last night with the Valdez Scantling. Like if you asked me which is more egregious, not who I feel worse for, but missing a 40, because like if you miss a 23-yarder, that's different. But 40, let's go 47. 47-yard field goal, you miss it, or you drop the Valdez Scantling pass. Who I'm more upset about? Dropping the pass. Absolutely. I expect more out of my receivers. The stupid kicker, I just assume that the stupid kicker is going to miss. I have no faith in him whatsoever. But you're an NFL receiver, catch the damn ball.
Every time you watch a game-winning field goal.
No, I just have no confidence.
Yeah, you just think he's going to miss it.
Yes.
Almost like every time.
Yeah.
You never feel good about it.
We had an All-American kicker when I was at BYU.
Who was it?
Owen Potchman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I recognize that name.
He went on to be a male model.
Great.
And
a male model.
A male model.
Didn't he kick with like a club foot or something?
he did not. He was a very handsome.
He's the one-legged kicker. I remember him.
He was a very handsome lad. And then I think he married a Playboy playmate. So good for Owen Potchman. By the way, he's a good guy to hang out with because you could catch some strays.
Some strays.
Yeah, it was him and the quarterback.
A little runoff.
Oh, 100%. Believe me. We were all trying to hang around Potchman for, obvious reasons. And he was really good. I never once had him line up for a kick where I thought to myself, oh, this is going in. And he was really good.
And he was good. Yeah.
Every time he kicked, I'd be like, you son of a bitch, you're going to miss it. And then it would go in, like, oh, we love you.
Yeah. It's like we're always surprised when they make it.
Yeah. But when we had a really good receiver, I just assumed, I'm like, dude, you're catching that. Like,
yeah, we're surprised when you don't make the play.
Yeah. Like we have no respect for kickers, even if they're great. Whereas the receiver, they catch the ball. You got to admit, I'm not sure which one was worse, the Quentin Jefferson that would have won the game for the Chargers because they would have the easy chip shot field goal, or the one last night with Kansas City. But both of those, like
Boyd dropped one the week before.
Yeah.
Right.
But
for the Bengals?
For the Bengals. But stride for stride, Herbert and Mahomes couldn't have thrown two better balls. That's going to haunt you.
All right, let's get to the college football playoff rankings. Did Washington make a move? We will get to that next. 417 on the Fan.
favorite, Gordon Lightfoot. And in there, it's a true story of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And in there, he references the Maritime Sailors Church. And I went and it was in Detroit, and I stumbled across the church from that song.
Well, look at that.
Yeah. It was one of those when I was walking around and I saw a big church with an anchor on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, is that? And then I walked up to it, and my gal was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, just come here. And then there was a little plaque that said the church was immortalized in the great wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald song.
Cool.
So there is my Gordon Lightfoot connection in the great city of Detroit.
He was greatness.
It's right across the street from the Joe Louis Fist in Detroit. If you're
not familiar with that either.
No, the big statue there, the big arm.
I've never been to Detroit.
Oh, well, that's
at least I don't think.
That's kind of one of those iconic things in Detroit. They just have this big giant. I mean, it's enormous. It's a big giant arm and fist, and it's the fist of Joe Louis.
You know, Michigan is one of the few states I've never set foot in.
Oh, I'm pro Michigan.
Never been up there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm too. I just have never been there.
Yeah, the murder mitten.
Okay, so we've got the college football playoff rankings.
Yes, we got a little shakeup.
Very little shake. Does it seem
that's
to
why
you?
I said a little shakeup.
Does it seem to you that the rankings don't like this year abnormally stagnant?
Well, no one's losing.
Yeah, but doesn't that seem abnormally stagnant? Like, doesn't? Yeah,
you would think around this time that you get a couple.
Usually, it's like I don't know. It just seems like the same. It's like we're just waiting for these last few games,
pretty much,
to decide it. But no changes. 10 through 6. Louisville 10, Missouri 9, Alabama 8, Texas 7, and Oregon 6. And then the top 5, the little shakeup is that Washington did jump Florida State into number 4 after that win over Oregon State. So it's Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3. They play this weekend, and then Washington is 4.
I mean, Washington's resume, they should be 1. If you want to go just off resume, Washington has the best resume of anyone in the country. But at least they're in the top 4 now. But it's all moot because as long as Oregon and Washington take care of business and win out, I guess this week, then, they get to play for a shot in the college football playoff. And like I said, if you are a Washington fan and some things break your way, there is a chance, as long as that's a close game, if they were to lose to Oregon, there is a path where you could get 2 Pac-12 teams in. It's unlikely.
Who would you need to root for? So in the Big Ten, Big Ten, you would root for Michigan to just.
You need someone to just get shillelied in that game. You need Michigan to just.
But who? You need Michigan to beat Ohio State.
It doesn't really matter. You just need one of those teams to just get drilled. By like 40. I mean, just
doesn't matter which one it is.
Doesn't matter which one because they're 2 and 3. You can't have that be a close game.
Is the Ohio State Michigan game for the right to go to the Big Ten title game?
Yes.
Ooh.
So the loser's out.
The loser's out. They're not even going to be able to play in the Big Ten title game.
Iowa's on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ohio State Michigan loser.
Yes. So what
just sits and waits.
So what you need is you need that game to not be competitive. You need someone to get embarrassed. And then really all you need after that is, I guess there's a lot. You need Georgia to beat Alabama, and which isn't a long shot. And then you just need the ACC to stub their toe. So if that were to happen, then there's your case.
Georgia, I saw, is a 3.5-point favorite over Alabama.
Over Bama?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the problem with it is like if Alabama beats Georgia, there's your argument of there's your 2 SEC teams. If Michigan and Ohio State is razor thin, there's your argument for 2 Big Ten teams.
I heard Bartu say, maybe I saw it on Twitter, or was it something that he was on one of our shows, and he said that Georgia, one-loss Georgia, does not get in.
Yeah, he said that. And Dave, I don't like to challenge Dave because Dave is spot on.
Because of their schedule?
I just have a really hard time believing that the human element in that room is going to tell me
they're not one of the top 4.
That Georgia, who has won, I believe, 29 straight games, is the 2-time defending national champions, and that's about to go undefeated again in the SEC. And if they lose a close game to Alabama, you're going to tell me that they're going to say that Georgia isn't one of the top 4 teams. I have a hard time. But
well, again, it's not top 4. It's most deserving.
It's most deserving.
Right?
But I don't know, man. There's inside that room, there's not a human element. I struggle with that.
I hear you, but I think that if it came down to that, it better not be at the mercy of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Put it this way. A one-loss Georgia that does not win the SEC will not get in over the Pac-12 champ.
No.
No. It just won't.
No.
So I should say it this way. who would it be at the mercy of? I think it really depends. If a one-loss Georgia gets into the 14 playoff, it would really depend on how everything else shakes out.
That's why I said like it'd be the same thing with Oregon and UW. When I said that you need some things to kind of go your way, it's the same thing for any of these conferences. In order to get 2 teams in from the Big Ten, 2 teams in from the SEC, you kind of need the other people around you to screw up.
I'm just trying to think of who, like, how could you make a case that Georgia goes not winning the SEC with 1 loss?
All right, simple.
Florida State without ACC 1 loss.
Well, Louisville loses this week to, or let's say Florida beats Florida State this week.
Okay, Florida State,
which is not inconceivable.
And then Florida State still gets to play in the ACC title game
against Louisville, and they beat Louisville. So the ACC is gone. Okay, that one's done.
Wait, even if Florida State wins the ACC, you think
as a 2-loss, as a 2 or it wouldn't matter.
As a 1 loss without your starting quarterback, I think Florida State would be out.
So I'm saying, let's just make sure this. I want to be clear. Florida State loses to Florida.
Yes.
Beats Louisville, wins the ACC, 1-loss conference champion.
I think they're
no
done.
Quarterback.
I think they're done.
But you think Georgia, a 1-loss Georgia that doesn't win the SEC, gets in over them?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I believe it. In my heart of hearts.
They would have a hell of a gripe. Having won the league.
The other one you would need is like if you want Oregon to just alley whip Washington in the worst possible way, humiliate them.
So get Washington out of there.
Washington out. So then you would have Yep. So it'd go back to that where you need, and then the Big 12 would have to.
Let's go back to the Washington one.
Yeah.
You would have. What if you had Washington and Georgia 1-loss non-champions?
See, here's the thing. If you're going by the committee's rules, Washington, it'd be Washington
because they have way better wins.
Yes.
Georgia would get in,
but I think you might be right.
Georgia would for sure get in.
And Dave will say that the committee follows rules, and it's always this way. And Dave's been right. So I said I have a hard time challenging Dave. I just think the human element, when they get in there, they're going to look at Washington, and they're going to look at Georgia, and they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to give it to Washington. I don't buy it. I don't.
Right. The other weird one that gets weird too, though, is if you have like a 1-loss Washington, but Texas, they run the table the rest of the way. Alabama beats Georgia, but it's really, really close. Ohio State beats Michigan, or Michigan beats Ohio State, and it's really, really close.
Now it's Thunderdome. They all have 1 loss.
Yeah. Right. And then that's where I think the human element comes in, and they start taking the blue bloods. And who are the blue bloods? You're taking Alabama, Georgia, and Texas and making sure that they get in there.
Yeah, that's what Suk's saying. But I don't know. I think in that scenario, isn't the tiebreaker of all of those the champion?
It hasn't always been.
Not always. I mean, Ohio State got in last year, and they weren't a champion.
Yeah.
They didn't even go to the championship game.
I think in this particular instance, if
That's
what you're
twice, I
saying,
believe.
you're saying Thunderdome.
TCU wasn't a champion.
Where they all have 1 loss. I mean, that would be the easiest way to get the least amount of heat, right? Yeah. Is like, hey, you all have 1 loss, you all look great, but Texas won the Big 12.
You're in.
Washington or whomever won the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And then Alabama won the SEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Big 10 champ.
They have the chaos
Iowa.
scenario.
My Big 10 Iowa Hawkeyes.
It's just if you're a Pac-12 fan, you're just, I guess it'd be Washington, because Oregon, it doesn't matter. Oregon, if you win, you're in, and if you lose, it's a moot point. You don't have a chance. So if you're a Washington fan and you're trying to hedge your bet, you need the ACC and you need the Big 12 to kind of screw the pooch. You need them to just kind of take care of themselves and get them out of the way, and then maybe, just maybe, as long as it's a close loss to Oregon, you might have a case like TCU did last year. Remember, TCU in the Big 12 last year ran the table, didn't look that good doing it. Kind of ham and egg their way with a lot of close games, and then lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 title game, and TCU was still rewarded with a college football playoff berth.
So it's probably going to be the Big 10, SEC, and Pac-12 champs.
I would think.
Okay.
They have the chaos scenario up here.
One other spot.
And then one other spot, either the ACC and Big 12 champion.
Or a second non-champ.
And that'll be interesting. The Florida State, let's say Florida State and Texas are just sitting there as conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
Both 1 loss. Who do you take?
I think probably
the 4th team.
Probably Texas because of the Alabama win.
Do you think a 1-loss non-SEC champ Georgia gets in over Texas as the Big 12 champ?
Boy, I'll tell you what, it'd be a pretty.
Dude, they would.
It would be pretty ballsy.
They'd freak out.
They would freak out. And Texas is going to say, "Hey, head to head, you lost to Alabama.
That's right.
And head-to-head at Alabama,
Yep.
we beat them by
Yep.
double digits.
Yep.
FU, we're in.
See, that's why I think Texas would get in.
But at the same time,
Dave's right about that one.
Georgia's going to be like, 29 straight wins, 2 straight national titles.
Get out of here. Win your league, you little bitch.
And the argument is, too, is, we that extra game. That's why I do think in some ways the championship games, they're kind of stupid. At this point, and God forbid, you have the Big Ten. How dumb is it? Let's say if you're Washington, you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, Michigan and Ohio State, you have to beat one of those teams once, right? You beat Michigan, you beat Ohio State, and you never have to see them again, right? Because of the divisions. And if you're Washington, you're like, well, for God's sakes, we ran undefeated too. We beat the best team in our conference, and now I got to see them again at the end of the year. Meanwhile, Michigan and Ohio State, your reward is Iowa. I mean, if you're playing this from 3 years ago, Oregon's out. Washington is playing Arizona in the title game.
Yeah.
So it's just so stupid because in the SEC and in the Big Ten, they still do divisions.
I don't know.
Whereas in the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12, you have to basically beat a team twice.
Well, I think that's all going away, isn't it? Now that they're moving to 12.
That they're moving.
So this seems like just a wonderful year to have a 12-team playoff.
Oh, God, it'd be so great. Because all this would be
It starts
moot.
next year.
Oregon and Washington would both be in, and Michigan and Ohio State
Iowa would be in.
Well, in the
I think they would, wouldn't they? No, they're 16th.
I don't know what they would do for the at-large. I mean, because remember, it's not by rankings.
Yeah.
It's the committee.
They pick them.
They pick them.
All right. Well, two huge ones this weekend. Oregon State, Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
And Washington State. I mean,
hey,
you never know. Florida State, Florida as well.
You imagine.
This is another one. Isn't Georgia playing like Alabama A&M or something?
No, I think they got Tech.
Oh, they're playing Georgia Tech.
I believe so.
That's right.
Because I think that's their big rival at the end of the year. They played the they got Tech this week. As I say, because the week before, normally they play that the Sister Mary of the Poor at the end of the year, but this year Georgia played Tennessee, and
why didn't they play that game?
I don't know. Now they got Tech. They must have played theirs at the beginning. They must have played theirs. Oh, Georgia's a little bit different because they play. Don't they? They play their fourth non-conference game is Georgia Tech.
Florida's the same way.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the year they play their three non-conference.
So Georgia doesn't play that crap game.
No.
I mean, 3 of them.
Georgia Tech's not great, but they're not terrible.
They don't play the Belmonts of the world at the end of the year because they have that built-in rivalry game against
Oregon
Tech.
is 6th in the college football playoff rankings. No change there. Washington up 1 spot to number 4. In the news is next. I have another big Northwest concert announcement.
All right.
For you guys.
Kenny Loggins?
No. Here's who's over there today?
That's Will.
Buckley. Will Buckley with Sports Center. 9:33. It is time now on our show for In the News. Yeah. I'm your noted newsman. Today is World Television Day.
Oh, all right. Well, go TV.
And National Stuffing Day.
Oh, I love stuffing.
Me too. I think it's my favorite side.
We don't do like.
Wait, I don't think I know.
Yeah, we don't do like traditional Thanksgiving food at my house. But New Seasons, the hot bar that I have for lunch quite a bit, they always do, like every day now they have a Thanksgiving
Just
spread.
for this time of year?
Just for this time of year. And so like today I had a little turkey and some stuffing, just kind of threw it in one of the little things. And so I get my stuffing fix.
Do you think it should be law that you have to put hot sauce on your stuffing?
Ooh, hot sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually just mix in a little gravy. Like I don't pour the gravy because I like my stuffing to be.
I like it spicy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
Sriracha.
thought about that on my stuffing.
Well, I told you I have another big Northwest concert announcement, and here it is.
I can't wait.
You know who this is?
I do know who this is. I saw that they announced their tour. I didn't know they were coming here. Great with me.
Great tune. The Rolling Stones. They are coming to. Yay!
Diet Coke.
Yay! Rolling Stones coming to Lumen Field in Seattle. You may know that that's in Seattle.
I'm familiar.
That's where the Seahawks play.
Yeah, the Stones aren't coming down here to play Moda. No offense, but
Oh god.
no.
No, stadium tour.
Yeah.
That will be Wednesday, May 15th, if you want to go see those olds. Of course, there's no guarantee they live that long.
Exactly. Oh, dude,
They're still killing it.
Wednesday?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday night.
For hell's sakes. Now I got to take time off work. I'd like to go see the Stones.
We'll get it.
I haven't seen the Stones in probably 20 years. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen the Rolling Stones. And again, see them while you can because they're going to be dead soon. I hear, though,
They kill it.
they're still great.
They kill it.
Yeah.
I saw a concert with them that was on the other day. I think more concerts should be televised. If you had to pay, like, I get like you can't just be for free.
Sure.
But if you sold your concerts to networks and they played them, or
Well, Swift.
if you made people buy them,
The Swifties
Yeah.
did their Her tour. Metallica did that for
Yeah.
one live show.
I think that there's a big market for that, and they're always talking about bands like not making enough money or whatever. Do that.
I've really enjoyed.
Because there's a lot of people that just don't go. I would like to see the Rolling Stones show in Seattle. I
Sure,
would.
but it's
I'm going
Wednesday
to
and
tell you,
it's-
I'm not going.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I want to see it, though. So send it to me. Get it to me.
Yeah.
On my devices.
Well, like COVID, I know some people were doing, some of the smaller bands I like, they were doing like Zoom shows, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I like seeing stuff like that.
I love concerts on TV. I watch them all the time. And it doesn't even matter who the band is. I just check it out.
Well, when I had DirecTV all those years ago, there was a
Yeah. Audience.
it was
Audience
the Audience
Network?
Network. Yeah,
Yeah.
they always had live shows.
Yeah.
It would rope me in all the time.
Yeah. There was a band I saw on there that I wasn't too familiar with that I was like, man, they're really good. And it was a band called, you probably want to know who it was. Oh man, their name is escaping me
Nickelback.
now. No.
Bon Jovi.
3 Doors Down.
Presidents of the United States. Crash Test Dummies.
Temple of Mud.
I can't remember.
Temple of the Dog.
They were great though. Trust me.
Did you get Temple of the Dog confused with Temple of Mud? What the hell is Temple of Mud?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Puddle
I said
of
Temple
Mud.
of the Dog.
I think he's thinking of Puddle.
Puddle of Mud and
Puddle of
Temple
Mud,
of the
yeah.
Dog.
It's
and-
not
I got
a
it.
band?
I got it there eventually. Much like Raising Arizona, I got there eventually.
Hey, on this next story, so much questions here. They are touting this as a miracle reunion where a family in Portland lost their dog 2 years ago.
I love these stories.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think about losing my dog and it would be
It sucks.
It'd be crushing.
Yeah, it would suck. But the Panula family,
the good old Panulas.
they live out in Hillsboro. Their dogs ran away. They wandered off. They didn't run. They wandered. And
Do we know that?
only one of them came home. Well, so they held on to hope that they would see Luna again. And it looks like Luna is a pit bull mix of some sort, maybe pit bull boxer
Okay.
type of dog. And so they just soon accepted the fate that Luna was gone because the one dog came back, the other one they hadn't seen for years.
Sure.
So then they tune into AM Extra on I don't know, coin or something. And Carlos Panula, the dad, said he was watching it. They had a Second Chance Pets segment, and they were talking about a dog named Fiesta that was at the shelter in Southwest Washington up there. And he's like, wait a minute. That's Luna.
Wow.
Yeah, but here's my first question.
I think I know where you're going with this.
How do you not check the shelters for your dog?
It seems a little ridiculous.
2 years later?
I don't want to be cynical because I love stories like
That's
this.
bullshit.
But you know me, whenever there's one of these stories that doesn't seem to add up, I always get my antenna up. Is it possible that Luna left because these people are absolute dirtbags?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
well, they didn't care to get her back. If they did, they would have checked the Southwest Washington Humane Society, would they not?
exactly. Something tells me, like, I know that if my dog wandered off, something, like, I find it hard to believe that he just would, it would just, I would look for like a day and then be like, well, nothing I can do about it. Like, you put up a sign like on an old milk carton. I don't buy it. I think these people, I don't think they don't deserve the dog.
Well, I'm looking at them here. They are Niners fans.
Oh,
So I don't know
they're hanging
how-
out down at the Wooden Chicken.
I don't know how you feel about that. But,
Seems
Clearly dirtbags.
seems sketch.
yeah, I thought that was weird.
Pull the, what is it, the Billy Madge. You get off your ass and you find that effing dog.
And by the way, 2 years ago?
I know.
So what, has the dog been at the shelter for 2 years?
Well, it sounds like the dog may have made some rounds. I don't know.
Sure, it does take
Bounced
2
around a little
years to
bit.
get up there.
It's a real Joe Dirt sort of situation where that dog better be asking, did you really look for me? It's just like, I wouldn't stop looking for my dog. It's just,
It's like the time remember when we got Ned,
yeah, I remember old Ned.
old lucky Ned Pepper?
Yeah.
We rescued him because they told us, well, not because, we liked him. He was great. And my wife picked him out, and he was wonderful. Big dog. Big old dog.
Yeah.
They said that his owner surrendered him crying. He rolled in a wheelchair crying, saying, I can't take care of him anymore. Ned was a lot. And so we were like, oh my God, what a terrible story. He must have loved that dog. So we took Ned, and Ned was a nightmare.
I remember at the beginning.
He was a nightmare.
It was almost too much.
And wife almost sent him back. But, of course, the Pixie Project, they do a great job. They were like, you know what's going to happen if he comes back here.
Yeah.
We're going to put him down,
Yeah.
and it's like, and the guilt trip was like, okay, fine, we'll keep him. Well, he ended up being great.
Yeah, you loved old Ned.
Oh, he was such a great dog. I think dogs, they just he figured it out. Plus, he was medicated. We kind of toned him down a little bit.
Doped him up a little bit. It happens.
But he ended up getting cancer. We only had him for 2 years, but because he was a little bit older. The first day we got him, my kid was walking that dog at the park, and some other kid comes up to him and says, "Is that dog named Ned?" And Meat was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's my dog." And Ned had no reaction to this kid whatsoever.
Yeah.
Ned was like, "Oh, you again." And so
wasn't a
this
good-
guy was like, and then so then I look around, or Meat called me down there, and I walked down, and the whole family was there, and so I got to talking to him, and I was like,
Again, not.
I
Sometimes
don't know.
Sometimes the people don't deserve the dog.
I don't know. I think they meant well, and they were really nice, but it meant a lot to me that Ned just wasn't like, hey, what's up? Why'd you give me up, man?
Seems sketchy.
You know?
Well, yeah, we rescued a senior dog. This was 15 years ago. We had a French Mastiff, Cleo, and the people had Cleo for 12 years. It's a French Mastiff, for God's sake. They don't live much longer than that. Think Turner and Hooch.
And they gave him up.
12 years, and they gave her up.
Why?
F those people.
Why did they do that? Then?
They moved, and they're
Yeah, that's always weird
Go
weird
to hell.
me too.
Go to hell.
Oh, we had to move, so we couldn't keep her. What?
You had a dog for 12 years, and you decided, whatever, and they just dumped her. And by the way, the rescue organization, they were like, this is ridiculous. So we gave Cleo a home. We had her for she lived for 8 months. She was wonderful. But that bothers me. You got a senior dog. I understand that sometimes it's a challenge. You don't get to keep a dog for its entire life,
No.
and then at the end, when it's a little older, and be like, well, it doesn't fit into our plans anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Screw you.
All right, in the news continues next. Increased walking patrols in downtown Portland. We'll tell you what that means. Probably nothing. When we return on The Fan.
It's time for Who's Leading the
every day through the new year.
I love this.
8.
Love it.
The goal is to try to make people feel safer.
And I love, by the way, in the article I read this, and of course they had the wet blanket that was like, I'm not certain that the holiday spirit is all about seeing people in badges with guns, as opposed to what else is going on in downtown. Freaking, you can't have it both ways, people. I think this is great. Whenever you're walking around San Francisco, when Detroit, when people have cleaned up the cities, you know what the number one thing you can do? Police presence. Sorry. If you're walking around and you want to feel safe in downtown amongst the urban campers, to me, and I think the vast majority of people, I get not everybody, but the vast majority of people, when you see a cop walking on the street, you feel safe walking to the bar or walking to the restaurant or walking at night.
I'll nitpick a little bit here. 8? Like, is that? I mean, I guess that's better than 0.
Better than 0.
But is it? I mean, is that?
Well,
I don't know what that does.
Part of what Detroit's cleanup is they had the casinos pay for extra police force to wander around downtown. You see them all the time. They're super friendly, and it makes people feel safe.
Well, they've already started. Monday was their first day.
I'm all for this.
They say it is a response to rise in crime in the last couple of years. Their goal is to make people feel safer. There's 8 of them. They'll be broken up into teams of 2. They will walk the streets of Portland from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I wish it was a little later, but
7 days a week, all the way through the new year.
Look,
and then we'll go back to being
lawless.
Yeah.
I applaud the city for you can see that they're making efforts. They're trying some things, and I think that should be encouraged.
Hey, defund the police.
Yeah. How'd that work?
That is in the news, November 21. Is that what it is? Yeah. 2021. 2023. Coming up next, it's time for the Hot 5 5. We've got the college football playoff rankings. We've got a surprise firing, or was it a surprise, in the NFL? And what else can I tease? You want some Maui Invitational news?
You know I do.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you want that. Want that very much.
Rock Shock.
Yeah, so we'll get to all that stuff. Blazers playing, all that next on The Fan.
Prescriptions required.
or maybe it'll be Buckley,
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
or maybe it'll be Jeff Rust. I don't know. It seems to be a rotating cast of characters.
Someone will be there.
Hey, I've got a hot read for you.
I do like my hot reads.
You can catch the OSAA 5A football championship game on Portland CW this Friday.
Tasty.
Wilsonville, Mountain View.
Not my Mountain View, but
No?
Mountain
Oh,
View,
yeah.
There's
Mountain
multiple mountains.
What am I talking
Mountain View would in Vancouver would not be played.
Aren't
in
you
the
from Washington?
In the Oregon State Championship.
Did you
That'd
get how
be-
long that took me to think about that?
I did see the wheels turning. I was like, you'll get there. It's all right.
I did get there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
We went on the journey together.
Be a hell of a thing though if that Mountain View got to play in the Oregon State Championship.
Well, Hermiston, they're in Oregon, and they play in the Washington. They're
yeah,
in the WIA.
Yeah, because the small, they got to go
Yep.
find the little small schools.
Kickoff at 4:30 Friday on Portland CW, your home for local sports.
I heard the color analyst on that's really hot.
Okay, so let's guess who the color
Sure,
analyst
you're
is.
gonna take that bait, are you?
Oh. Wait, is it him?
I think it's him.
It is me.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a
No,
real hot.
No.
Whoa, what are you talking about, dude? I'm out here squatting.
Will's on this like Will's like skinny for the first time in his life, so he's like reveling in the I'm attractive
He's
thing.
sitting stare at himself in the mirror, you think?
Yeah, he's full. He's
All
gone.
day.
He's gone full Adonis.
God, look how good
There's a lot of flexing in my mirrors. A lot of shirtless flexing. No pictures yet. Give me time.
He's waiting to post some thirst
The
traps.
gram, bro.
Yeah. Dusty, by the way, the Dusty Hera led whatever team he coaches. They're playing in
Banks.
Banks. They're playing in their state championship game.
Hey, I saw something today.
What do you got?
Well, I always come in here early to try to screw with them.
Yeah.
But it never really works.
Mhm.
They just ignore me. But I was sitting over here, and Dusty was out of the room, and I was looking at his backpack.
Mhm.
He carries a backpack.
Yeah.
In it
Game
was
plan.
the Banks.
You could leak.
Yeah.
You could leak the Banks game plan.
I will not tell you what I did with it,
Mm.
but there could be some photos.
Yeah. So if someone's looking to get an advantage, talk to one Isaac Robb.
I don't know who they're playing,
Uh,
and if they're still playing, I don't know. Are they still playing?
no, they're playing Saturday.
Okay.
The state championship is on Saturday.
Banks is in the state championship
Yes.
Because
5A
of-
and 6A are Friday.
because of Dusty's.
Well, Dusty's wide receiver.
receivers
Yes.
coaching?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to go support him. I was like, because I was excited. I was like, oh, man, where? And then it was like somewhere far away. And I was like, yeah. I'm not
Where's the
doing
game? Do they play those in Eugene? Maybe?
that.
5A and 6A are in Hillsboro. The Columbia Cup, I think, is in Salem.
Yeah, he told me because I thought maybe they'd be playing here locally, like at the Hillsborough Stadium. And I was like, I'll come and support you. But then he told me and it was far away. And I was like, yeah, no.
They try and keep it equal distance between the two teams. They don't want a bunch of one
Right.
team to have to travel from the southern part of the state to the north or
Makes
vice
sense.
versa.
I got you. All right, we've got fun with college football audio coming up here this hour. A little Jonathan Smith talk. In the club tonight, I was reading about Zelensky today. You know that guy, that
Oh, yeah.
Ukrainian guy?
Yeah, no one pays any attention anymore because we've got the whole Israel thing happening. So they've just been shoved to the back burner.
Well, he says Vladimir Putin has tried to assassinate him 5 times.
I can see that.
And
He has to be careful that there's no like elevator shafts around him.
so he was talking about it, and it's quite fascinating. And if you were a crypto king, how hard would it be not to be a money launderer?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I would. Well, we know my.
Well, you would
I-
be, for sure.
100%.
A man of integrity like myself.
I'd be involved in illegal comings and goings.
Be a little tougher. Club 1080, 6 to 7. Right now, the hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions,
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
and hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number 5.
Blazers' final in-season tournament group play game is tonight.
Except they've already been eliminated, but
They're in Phoenix. The Suns have rattled off 3 straight. Blazers guard Malcolm Brogdon upgraded to questionable. Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson are still out, although Scoot could be back later this week. They apparently they sent him to join My Remix
for 2 hours today.
for some conditioning, but he's already been called back to the big club.
Remix legend Scoot Henderson.
When are my Remix playing again?
I'd have to look it up, but I do know that they are 3-3, and
yep.
they just had their first home win over those bastards, the Ontario Lakers.
Yeah, they're tough.
Clippers.
Who's the star player of my Remix?
God, I don't know.
And how many?
Your man Reeve, but he's up now.
Oh.
He had 29 and like 16 in a game for the Remix.
How many would Scoot? Many would Scoot Horror?
Whoa.
How many would Scoot score?
The question is, like, which one's higher? How many would score versus how many he would whore? I don't know.
It's a toss-up.
I don't know what Scoot's doing out at that lake. He's probably doing all right for himself.
I'm going to go to that lake.
Padres' new skipper is Mike Schilt. He's that old bite in the ass that used to lead the Cardinals. He had a winning record there. Most recently, he's been a senior advisor in San Diego, so he replaces Bob Melvin. As for those pesky Cardinals, they have signed 2 free agent starting pitchers. Tell me if this gets your sports pants tight if you were a Cardinals fan.
Can't wait.
They have signed Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. How do you feel about that?
No.
Not okay with it?
No. Well, Nola re-signed, though. He's back in Philly.
Well, not with the Cards.
No. He's back in Philly. And then aren't we all waiting on the Yamamoto sweepstakes? That's official now.
Yeah.
The negotiations have begun.
Yeah, he's coming over, and Ohtani says, don't you dare talk about our talks or I'll murder you. Hey, wait, we're burying the lead today. I have a story later this hour about Ichiro.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
That's the lead story
It's
of
the
the
most
day.
Ichiro thing of all time.
What on earth was he doing?
He's doing Ichiro things.
That's later.
Yes.
That's a tease. A little college basketball for you. The Maui Invitational is going on. Number 11 Gonzaga lost to Purdue on Sunday, so they took on Syracuse today, and they did get the win 76-57. The tournament giveth 2 top 10 matchups tonight in the semis. You've got Tennessee and Purdue underway early. Number 7 Tennessee and number 2 Purdue, and then number 1 Kansas plays number 4 Marquette later. UCLA lost to Marquette, and they bounced back today, beating Chaminade by 1 billion. And then Duke is up 47-31 on LaSalle. And Colorado played. Colorado, they were 3-0, ranked 18th. They lost to Florida State 77-71. That one went to overtime.
Do you see on the women's side the whole Angel Reese thing going on right now?
Yeah.
She's like AWOL.
Yeah. Just gotta go to the lake.
And her coach isn't saying anything. It's getting all weird and awkward. She's arguing the most famous women basketball player on the planet right now, and she just is gone.
She's gone like Matt Canada.
I guess.
Fired by the Steelers.
He gone.
He was their offensive coordinator. First Steelers coordinator or head coach turfed during the season since 1941. How about that?
Yeah, the Steelers don't fire people, but I don't know if you saw this, but like,
Well, they do. They just do it at the end of the season.
Yeah, like, and but the Steelers don't. I mean, that is continuity at that place. But like after the game, like 4 offensive players were all openly just being like, "I'm done." Najee Harris was pissed. A couple receivers, like you just don't see that from the NFL. They were collectively like, "We're not doing this Canada thing."
Who
anymore.
was more stubborn, Pittsburgh and firing Matt Canada, or Saleh and benching Zach Wilson?
It's got to be Zach Wilson, right? It's got to be Saleh. Although, have you seen Tim Boyle's numbers?
No, and I don't think I want to. Honestly, I don't. I really don't.
You do.
I really don't.
You do. You want to see what Tim Boyle's bringing to the table.
No.
I'm finding them for you whether you want them or not.
Also, one NFL note, other NFL note, the Colts waived Shaq Leonard today. A bit of a shocker. He's their linebacker.
He's a 3-time All-Pro. He's probably the best linebacker they've ever had, but he's had 2 back surgeries. He's not the same player, and I guess he is just a pain in the ass in that he refuses to accept the fact that he is no longer the same player. I was reading today, and I guess he's just a cancer right now in the locker room.
Yeah, he makes like $16 million.
Yeah.
So he'll likely clear waivers and then become a free agent. And number 1, the college football playoff rankings released a little bit ago. Washington did jump Florida State into the 4th spot. That's really the biggest news. The top 10 look like this. Starting at 10, you have Louisville, Missouri, Alabama at 8, Texas 7, and Oregon 6. Then Florida State is 5, Washington 4, and the top 3 unchanged. Georgia is 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Arizona and Oregon State are in the rankings. Arizona 15th, Beavers 16th. Also, Rivals are reporting that 4 coaches have advanced to a second round of interviews for the Michigan State job, and Jonathan Smith is one of them. Also, Arizona's Jed Fish, Duke's Mike Elko, and Toledo's Jason Candle.
Well, I just think some of those guys, I think you can do better than Michigan State.
Oh, yeah. Yeah?
Yeah, it's
Or
just me.
Michigan State could do better than Jason Candle?
Yeah, I'm just talking about like Smith and Elko. I mean, those are good coaches. I'm not sure where that Michigan State job lands on my hierarchy.
Rivals did note that these 4 are not necessarily the final 4.
Yeah.
So, very vague.
And by the way, you need this.
Okay.
And I don't care whether you want it or not.
I do want it now. I've thought about it, and I want Tim Boyle stats.
So Zach Wilson, arguably the worst quarterback in the league, just got replaced by Tim Boyle.
Yeah.
That in the NFL, he has gone 3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Not good.
And is averaging less than 5 yards per play. And
who's he played for?
He's bounced around a bit. He was in Detroit. He was in Chicago. He was with, obviously in the Jets, the Bears. And here's my best part. Tim Boyle in college, 12 touchdowns, 26 interceptions.
Oh my God.
And he had a 5.6 yards per play. Tim Boyle, they may have found the only Eastern Kentucky. They may have found the only quarterback worse, and UConn. They may have found the only quarterback worse than Zach Wilson.
Does he have naked pictures of someone, you think?
It has to be. So if you're wondering why they didn't go, people keep saying, like, why did you not bench Zach Wilson? Because that's what you're dealing with. Tim Boyle. At least Zach Wilson was good for 1 year at BYU. 12 and 26 touchdowns to interceptions in college, and somehow he's in the NFL?
Oh, one other note. Syracuse fired Dino Babers.
Yeah.
A couple days
that
ago.
thing was cooking for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple years ago, everyone kind of thought Dino was going to be the next guy to leave Syracuse.
Yeah, well, I blame the late Mike Lynch.
Yeah, that's son of a bitch.
The Hot 5 at 5 is brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victoricos.com. We have fun with college football audio coming up next on 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on demand.
saw Jim Harbaugh trolling everyone again, and I love it when he does this. So let's listen to it, shall we?
Let's go on this journey together.
So he was asked about, is the question in this? I don't know if the question is just
The question is in this.
Okay.
Yeah, about respect.
Yeah, he was asked about the respect of Ryan Day in the Ohio State program.
Jim, this rivalry has always been heated, of course. It seems like there's always been a fair level of respect between the coaches. It's hard to determine what that is right now. What would you say is your Ryan Day and their staff?
It's all about our preparation for Ohio. The days, the minutes, the hours, everything leading up to this game. That's where our focus is. Preparing ourselves and planning, gonna practice and then execute. So, anything else is irrelevant, when you get into this kind of big game week.
Gonna practice.
He's such a douche.
Yeah, I like how he called him Ohio.
Yeah, he's just
That was a total purpose pitch too.
he is a douche of the highest order.
I think he's great. And then Ryan Day, they asked Ryan Day the same question,
Yeah.
and he had the same answer. He didn't say a thing about Harbaugh or Michigan. He's like, well, it's a big week. It's about our preparation. We're gonna go practice, maybe execute.
I love that both sides truly just hate each other.
They really do.
Well,
That's what makes a good rivalry.
I love the idea too that Harbaugh and Michigan are all pissed that Ohio State and others caught them cheating. That's their whole rub. Their whole rub is that their plan blew up in their face and that they got caught.
That's right.
I just that blows me away.
Well,
that's what you're sore about.
Isn't it better to have an us against the world excuse?
FIBA, right?
Well, that's Oregon doesn't even have an us against the world excuse.
No.
It was FIBU.
FIBU?
F everyone but us. Or like, what is he even talking? I think he's maybe talking about like the outside noise in terms of like jobs. And,
Probably.
Obviously it's a bee in his bonnet about, I'm talking about Lanning now.
Yeah.
It's a bee in his bonnet about the flash of Oregon versus toughness. He's mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
But like at least Jim Harbaugh has, because every coach uses this as uses something as a rallying cry. It's like, nobody believes in you. It's us against the world. That's how they get their edge, or at least try. Yeah. At least Harbaugh has something to. This is probably the greatest thing for Harbaugh, because he's like, oh, I can rally everybody around. This is the easiest rallying cry I've ever had.
Yeah.
But whereas Lanning's got to make stuff up.
Make it up. It's just the Michigan coach that was like crying on the field after they beat Penn State, and their players are all wearing free Jim Harbaugh shirts. What are you talking about? Like, you suspended him at the beginning of the season on your own. You accepted the suspension this time around. You had to fire a coach. You had to fire 2 coaches.
Sometimes you can't afford lawyers, Sook. You just have to accept your penalty.
They're like,
problem with the judiciary system in this country.
The what system?
The what?
Judicial.
The judici?
Hey, you know what?
I like judici.
Sometimes
better.
It's rivalry week.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Often I've been
system.
screwed over by the judici system. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Not allowed to have a hiccup. Whatever.
Rivalry week.
God, we suck. Okay, here's your next. Oh wait, no.
Was Jim Harbaugh involved in stealing the Constitution as well, or was that Ryan Day? Hortner's on a roll today.
Yeah, he started off hot, but boy, is he struggling in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's
I told you, J.R. Smith.
It's a little rocky.
Who has the better defense? One more thing on Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the better defense? Now, everybody's going to say Michigan.
It is Michigan's.
But points per game, Michigan 1, Ohio State 2. This is nationally.
Yeah.
Yards per game, Michigan 1, Ohio State 3. Yards per play, Michigan 4, Ohio State 1. Red zone scoring percentage, Michigan 18, Ohio State 8. Pass defense, Michigan 1, Ohio State 2. Rush defense, Michigan 7, Ohio State 21.
They're so good.
They're both, and Michigan probably does have the better defense, but Ohio State's is really close. Like, this is going to be a war.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath.
What's the over under on this game?
I'll take a look at that for you. And it's weird because in the past, Ohio State's been so good offensively, we kind of forget that they've had good defenses in the years gone by. But lately, their defense has been a bit of a weak spot. And then they finally get the defense back where it's just it's an actual nasty unit. And now they can't play offense because their quarterback stinks.
I know. Isn't that so weird?
Yeah.
And McCord's been playing better lately.
Yes, he has.
But isn't it just so weird in football how oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes it's really hard to have both sides
and
really strong.
And so much of it comes down to just finding the quarterback, right?
But don't you think teams just like, I feel like the teams lean into one or the other. In other words, they don't try, like I feel like there's some give up in terms of, hey, we're this type of team, therefore we are not going to put our eggs into the other basket.
Well, I do think there may be an element when you recruit kids, right?
Look at every team in the Big Ten outside of 2 or 3.
I see where you're coming on that. And I just think building one elite side it's finding kids that hit at all those positions. It's really hard to do. And so finding kids that hit at all those positions on 2 sides of the ball, again, really challenging to do. So be grateful when you have one elite side of the ball. And when you get 2, you win national championships. By the way, 46.5.
I think it's also the area that you recruit. Like in that area, aside from Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Penn State, because they can recruit nationally, most of those Big Ten schools have to recruit in that area. What do you have a lot in that area? You have big farm boys who want to play defense, who want to play offensive and defensive line. You don't have the skill players necessarily. So I think that's kind of the issue is like teams that have the good offense, they can recruit in California and Texas.
Okay, well, that's Ohio State. So explain their offense. I mean, Ohio State, all of a sudden, so Stroud goes away. Yeah. They have this great offense, scores 50 points against Georgia, Georgia's vaunted defense. And Stroud goes away. They come out the next year, and their defense is all of a sudden
lights out,
one of the best in the country, and now they can't score. Now, what is that?
Now, to be fair,
it's not just quarterback.
They have against the bad teams they're putting up in the mid-30s, so it is getting better. But again, it just comes down to we do this all the time. When USC had that run of quarterbacks, right? It was like you went from Carson Palmer to Matt Leinart to Mark Sanchez, and it was like, well, just everyone, and the next one's gonna be great. Same thing with like running backs, right? It's like from Lendell White and Reggie Bush, and then like Joe McKnight. It's like the next one, and there wasn't a next one. Like he was good, but he was never like John David Booty and the other ones that come after that. Like we just always assumed that the next one up, and Ohio State was cranking out quarterbacks, and we forget that Ohio State had some Craig Krenzels of the world. And Michigan had a hard time finding a quarterback forever, and they finally found McCarthy, and it was like, okay, we've got one. And so you just see it where, like, I just don't think we can appreciate what a quarterback means. Like, Oregon's going to have to go through this. Like, we look at Oregon the last 2 years, and it's been ridiculous. Bo ain't coming back for like a 9th year. And, and Oregon's set up to be good. With their recruiting classes. But I'm telling you, whether it's Ty Thompson or one of the young guys, if they don't find a quarterback next year, we're going to be sitting around being like, what the hell's wrong with Oregon? You don't have Bo Nix anymore.
Yeah.
Same thing with Washington and Penix.
I mean, I get all that. I do think it's uncanny how sometimes teams with excellent defenses, just their offense sucks.
It's hard.
And vice versa. It's a really weird thing. Like Matt and Pullman put it best on the text line. He says, it's like your golf game. Something is always crap.
Yeah.
That is so true. For those that play golf, like you'll be driving the ball really well, and then you putt like crap, and then you start putting great, and you'll drive it like S. Yeah. It's like there's always something.
This is true even in the NFL. Very rarely do you have.
It's football. It's just a football thing, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's a really weird dynamic.
I just go back to the collection of talent. It's really hard to find. Let's say on offense or defense, you really need, let's go 16 to 17 guys to be effective. It's really hard. And so when you're talking about adding, both sides of the ball, now you're talking about finding 30 plus guys that can come in there and be competent at their jobs. And that's just damn hard to do, especially at the collegiate level when I don't mean to call anyone out. It's not like saying I was the greatest in the world. There's a lot of bad college football players.
Oh, for sure.
Even on good teams, there are, and again, I try not to call college kids out. Even on good teams, there are bad. Give me any team in the country, and there are bad football players on that team.
So how do you explain then Ohio State's defense is suddenly great? How do you explain that?
Well, they made some changes at the coordinator spot, and I think a lot of times, too, at places like Ohio State, some of those kids just grew up. One, they have 2 still elite edge rushers. but they've always had elite edge rushers. But their secondary and linebackers have been a real problem. And some of those guys, transfer portal, they hit on some kids, and some of them just are. It's an elder stated defense. Like sometimes you can get a unit that isn't very good, made up of freshmen and sophomores, and then if they stick around by the time they're juniors and seniors, we forget guys get better. I wasn't anywhere like if I went back and watched me play as a freshman and sophomore, and I wasn't terrible, but I'd look at that versus my last 2 years and be like, who the hell is that kid? Like I had no idea. It wasn't until my third year where I was like, oh, this is how I actually play. And I think that happens a lot of places.
All right, well, it's going to be a good game, I think. Ohio State, Michigan always is. Always a fun one. Up next, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll help play our other audio clip. It's a guy who is really, really, really in love with Dan Lanning.
Interesting.
Who do you think it is?
Well, I saw someone talking about him, and I don't know if this is who you refer to, but
Loves him.
Yeah.
And some Jonathan Smith talk. It is 5:33. Here is Will with SportsCenter.
This is Rivalry Week on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
Brought to you by PG Long.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
SportsCenter is brought to you by X Golf. It's indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver or Tualatin, the home of indoor golf. Online at xgolfpnw.com. First on the Fan, the Blazers are back in action tonight. They're taking on the Suns down in Phoenix for another NBA in-season tournament game. No Scoot Henderson for the Blazers, but Malcolm Brogdon was upgraded to questionable. No Bradley Beal for the Suns. Phoenix is favored by 13.5. Tip-off scheduled for 6 o'clock. Over in college football, we had some movement today in the college football rankings. The Huskies jumped into the top 4 with their big-time win on the road against the 11th-ranked Oregon State Beavers. Florida State, they dropped down to 5th. They lost their starting QB, Jordan Travis. He's going to be done for the rest of the season, so that's a big loss for Florida State. Oregon stays at 6. Arizona jumps up 2 spots to 15th. And Oregon State, with their loss to UW, they dropped all the way down to 16th. Over in the NFL, the Colts waived their all-pro linebacker, Shaquille Leonard, in a surprising move. He's seen a slight decline in his performance after having 2 back surgeries last year to correct some nerve issues. And in Pittsburgh, the Steelers and OC Matt Canada have parted ways. The Steelers ranked in the bottom 4th in the NFL in most major offensive categories, despite being over 500 in the win column this season. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for Who's Leading the Charge. A look under the hood at the coaches, players, and teams getting it done. Brought to you by Battery Exchange.
Good protection, aired out. Valdez-Scantling dropped it. He gets matched up one-on-one on Bradley Roby. And Roby, there are not many guys who can run with this guy. And Roby cannot. And that ball was perfect.
That's Monday Night Football. Scantling dropped the ball, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Kansas City was dropping balls left and right, but Philly comes away with the win. 9-1 now, best record in the NFL. They are leading the charge. This report brought to you by Battery Exchange, with 14 area locations to serve you and free electrical system checks. Battery Exchange with an X.com.
Portland Perks.
Head to Portland Perks for an amazing deal at Wildlife Safari. Admission for 2 for just $28.75. Wildlife Safari is just south of Roseburg and a fun adventure for the whole family. Limited quantity available only at portlandperks.com.
that's actually a true sophomore. Everyone else has been in that program, and only one transfer. And he is he's a redshirted guy too. That's in his junior year from Ole Miss. Everyone else has been in that program for 3 years. It's all it's all guys that have kind of been through the fire.
Yeah.
And it's not relying on a bunch of transfers, and it's not relying on young kids.
If they were able to sustain success on offense, imagine how great they would be.
Well, if you could just
when the defense matures, which it did this year.
If you could have just
kept the
Stroud, because the Stroud came out early. If you could have, if CJ Stroud would have come back, then
I mean, geez,
we
were talking about none of these teams separate themselves as the best team.
They would have separated.
They probably would have. Although somebody else brought up on the Vancouver Ford text line, I mean, Michigan and Ohio State's defenses are good, but would they be 1 and 2 if they actually had to face good offenses?
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, but
great point. I mean,
but at the same time, let's not act like Michigan and Ohio State.
They definitely have good defenses, but I don't think they're 1 and 2 if they have to play in the Pac-12. They're not.
Yeah, the numbers certainly would be different.
There's no way,
because facing Washington and facing some of even Arizona and USC, it would they're going to give them challenges. But at the same time, be careful, because the Pac-12, just like the Big 12. We've done this so many times where we're like, well, once they face a real offense like ours, well, we've seen this game play out. And by the way, Oregon went toe-to-toe with Auburn, but that Oregon offense that was putting up a gajillion points, what did they score? Was it 13 against Auburn in the national title game? So
no, they scored more than that. Against Auburn?
I thought it was 20.
Yeah, it was 20.
They scored at the end.
23-20 or something?
Yeah, they scored at the end they got the turnover and scored. But Oregon's offense did nothing against Auburn. We saw Oklahoma a couple times when they played in these games just get bitch slapped by the SEC defenses. So just be careful with this idea. We do this a lot with SEC and with Big Ten defenses. We're like, well, when they play offenses like ours, most of the time it's been the defensive team in the bowl games that ends up winning those games. Yeah.
So Urban Meyer was the one who was talking about Dan Lanning.
He loves, I heard this.
He
today.
loves him.
Loves him some Dan Lanning.
This is Urban Meyer, the former Ohio State coach, on with Colin Cowherd.
No, I think they're as well-coached team in the country. I talked to Dan Lanning last week because I was just intrigued. Everything they do on offense, they try to, they bother the defense, whether it's empty, line up and empty, motion to back, Bucky Irving in the backfield, whether it's a Q run, whether it's the tempo. Everything they do on offense, they try to be a pain to on offense, they try to be a pain to the defense. But you know what? On defense, with Tosh Lupoy there, he does the same thing. They're doing simulated pressures. They're doing corner blitzes. I mean, every snap. And I'd like to think that's kind of like our Utah team was. And I asked him about that. And he said, yeah, he sits in the other meeting room. For example, he'll sit on the offensive side of the ball, and he'll hear what gives the offense problems. Then he'll walk in the defense room and they'll put it in. He'll sit in the defensive room and say, okay, this drives this defensive coach is crazy. He walks right over the other side and does it. So I think he's a star, Lanning. I think he's got not good players, great players. I think Bo Nix is having, are you kidding me? This transfer, 6th-year guy, he manages it. So I think they're one of the top, I'd say top 3 teams in the country right now.
Yeah, pretty high praise.
I think everyone at this point feels that way.
Did he slyly try to take credit?
He just threw the we did this.
Hey, you're doing it a lot like I did it because I was great. How about that? He's like, yep, just like you.
Well, he was pretty
Urban.
He was pretty great.
He was.
Yeah. No offense to Dan Lanning, but if we're
very good coach,
if we are talking about resumes, Urban's.
Do you think he was spying on teams?
I would put nothing past Urban Meyer. I think that dude.
I bet that's where Jim Harbaugh got it.
Urban Meyer has he's got the soul of the Grinch. That little crusty heart in there. But
who's angrier or not angrier?
That guy wins football games.
Who has less of a heart, Jim Harbaugh or Urban Meyer?
Urban Meyer.
Whose heart is smaller. Really? Yeah. You think Urban Meyer's heart is smaller than Jim?
Both are grade A bastards, but Jim seems to care about his players, where I don't think Urban does. I think Urban just uses you to win, and I don't think he gives a rip after it's done.
What if Urban cared about his family? Well, he doesn't care about that.
He cares about his bar because that's where he meets the co-eds.
Yeah.
That hand going somewhere.
Yeah, he kicks his players to the side.
He kicked. Remember,
you're right. That's pretty good. I would have originally on the surface said Urban Meyer more of a heart than Jim Harbaugh, but I think you're right.
No. And remember,
Jim Harbaugh is a principled man.
He also kicked when he was in Jacksonville. Remember, he kicked the kicker
Because he wasn't kicking well enough, so I had to show him.
He walked by and booted him. And all you need to know is Urban Meyer, his daughter signed to go play Division I volleyball. And at her signing, she thanked everyone but Urban. And by the way, that was a purpose pitch. When your daughter specifically doesn't name you as someone to thank at her signing day, that's all you need to know about Herbs. Come on.
Herbs.
That dude is a grade A waste of a soul.
Oh, God.
He's terrible.
All right.
But that guy can coach a football team.
Wins a lot of football games.
He wins a lot. He is the like somewhere Scoot.
I know.
He might be the ultimate. Scoot may be the ultimate fan of Urban Meyer. He'll overlook anything.
I know.
He brought people into Florida that were murdering people. He's like,
well, you can't hold that against him.
Oh, I think I can.
He didn't know that.
Oh, he did.
Wait,
they were
knew
murdering at Florida. They murdered after Florida.
No. Aaron Hernandez was murdering while at Florida. Shot that dude in the head.
Oh, I thought that was all in New England.
You're telling me Urban Meyer knew that Aaron Hernandez was a murderer?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he knew Aaron Hernandez was out there doing that stuff.
Well, then this competition isn't even that close.
Yeah, it's, Herbs is at a whole other. That dude doesn't care. He is about one thing and one thing only, winning championships. He's not about this 7-9 BS.
You know who does care? Ichiro. This is the story of the day. I'm not kidding. I cannot believe it's 5:46 and we have not gotten to.
It's the most Ichiro story of all time.
We are getting to this story next on The Fan.
It's time for a Ducks Report, the inside story on Oregon athletics. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
What?
Yeah, Oregon's on a Florida swing in hoops.
Did they win? Wait. Who are we talking about?
The Oregon basketball
team. The men's basketball team. It's the Mods PDX report. It's about the Ducks.
Yeah. No, I know.
They won. They're undefeated, 4-0.
Will seems very passionate about that.
He's like, come on, man.
Who knew Will was that fired up about Oregon basketball?
You're right. They beat Florida A&M.
That's right.
Crown their ass! find a good reason why this happened.
It's hard to process, but I can give you the reason why it happened.
You know why it happened?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's Ichiro Suzuki.
Oh,
That's
well,
why it happened.
But I need more than that.
I don't think you're getting more than that.
We have learned exclusively here on this show
Yes.
that Ichiro played in a game against a high school girls softball team.
Yep.
Or maybe it's baseball. They played baseball.
They played baseball.
I assume they were a softball team, but maybe not. Maybe they have girls' high school baseball over there. I don't know. He's in Japan. He is 50 years old, and he is playing in a game against a high school girls team. Why?
Oh, do you know he batted too?
Yes. So here's the best part. He had 2 hits, and one of his hits was a double. He laced it right over the second baseman. And watching him run to second base was painful. Oh my God. He's 50. Of course, that's only 2 years older than me. But.
He threw 116 pitches.
Yeah.
Threw a shutout.
Shutout. He dominated him.
Struck out 9.
Why?
The idea of him up there. And by the way, he's bringing gas, striking out high school.
They said he reached 86 miles per hour.
Striking out high school girls.
Dude, help me.
He's taking it really seriously.
Listen, I loved Ichiro in Seattle. I really in the big leagues. He was awesome. But oh my dude. Someone
needs to help him. So you remember the article from a couple years ago about his routine in Seattle?
That was a great article.
He can't let baseball go.
I get that, but why are you like? I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. Go be he's like the king of Japan outside of Shohei. Yeah. Go be a coach. Go. There's so many ways.
Coaching isn't playing.
There
Rob.
are so many ways to be in the game of baseball. You are now playing a high school girls team?
Yes. And by the way, sprinting in his own way. You're right. Watching him run to second is painful, but when he gets there, he's out of breath.
Because you expect peak Ichiro.
And it's not.
Like,
it's sad. But yes, he is competing as hard as he can.
Guys.
And you know he took this game far too seriously.
Guys, I just don't.
Well, we need
somebody shouldn't even allow him to play in this.
No.
He'd be like, yeah, I can't wait. And then you got to talk him off that. Say, nope, Ichiro, we're not. We're not doing this.
This is the problem, though. This is the problem. No one there is to tell Ichiro no.
How does this even come about?
Well, it's an all-star.
Probably asked.
Yeah, it's an all-star team, and they were
okay.
You know, they were trying to play some sort of exhibition, and I guarantee Ichiro heard about it and was like, "Yeah, I'll do this."
Now, can I ask this question? Was it all men or boys that they were playing against?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Because at least from the highlights that I saw, there were other dudes that Ichiro was playing with. I don't know who the other dudes were.
I thought they were playing a girls team.
They were.
They were. Will Payton.
Oh, his team.
Listen,
his teammates.
Will, you're now running at a 33% clip.
It's not
Hall
good.
of Fame numbers.
Well, you're like Valdez Scanlon at this point. We can't trust you.
First 2 jokes were great. Now he's down 45-0.
Yeah,
good grief.
It's rough. No, he was playing with other men. I don't know how this came about, but it's rough. And he gave interviews afterwards, and he was like he gave an interview like it was a big deal.
They really had my stuff tonight.
Yeah,
I was really on point.
He said, "I've had some decent hits as a professional, so I was frustrated that I wasn't getting hits. I set a goal of 1 hit as a batter no matter what, so I'm happy." He was setting goals to achieve in this game.
What would it have said if Ichiro played in the game and didn't get a hit? You know, I mean, that's more of a headline, isn't it?
Time to go to the farm.
I mean, 3 for 7.
I mean, I don't know what to do with this other than
I don't either. I can't wrap my head around.
There needs to be an intervention. It would be like if you took a high school team here and I don't know. I was trying to think if Clyde Drexler came back and played, and we were like, "Oh my God!"
Well, Terry Porter's around, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's it. If Terry Porter suited up against the All-State girls basketball team, and Porter went out there in Tommy Copper, knee sleeves and a back brace and was slapping the floor, and Porter was like, "Yeah, watch this, bitches. I'm about to dominate."
What?
But we all know that guy. We all know that guy.
Look, I get that Ichiro's like that. But there's a difference between having that which we all know he's wired that way.
Yeah.
We all know that guy. But there's a difference between having that and taking the field against a girls' baseball team. You were one of the best to ever do it.
Ever.
And you take the field against at the age of 50 against a girls' high school team. High school?
Yeah.
Not high school.
High school. Hey, the one girl had a pretty good curveball. She did.
And you're setting goals.
Yeah.
For that game. Like
You're setting goals.
that's another level, man. Yeah. It's a level I can't fathom. I don't understand.
Yeah,
so
there's some getting old. What do they say? Getting old is not for the faint of heart. And Ichiro can't handle this.
Wait till I'm 50, see who I play.
Well, do you have this where as you get older, you have to recalibrate? You have to recalibrate what it is that you expect of yourself. I don't think he can do that. There's just comes a point in time where you shouldn't be doing stuff with people that young, and Ichiro hasn't gotten that memo, and that's rough.
Here's a text on the Vancouver Ford text line. This is where reporting matters. You could call it like you are doing now, or Ichiro single-handedly pitched and hit and beat an all-star team at the age of 50. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just leave out the girls' high school part. God.
Well, who was it? This was like the Trey Clavis, or was it Clay Travis? Trey, God, I'm pulling a Will Ortner. Clay Travis that wanted the aces, the
Is he
Las
part
Vegas.
of the judici system?
Yeah, I think he's the head of the judici system.
Wasn't he a lawyer or something? Clay Travis?
Was he?
I think he was.
I don't know. He's an ass, is what he is. But he wanted the Vegas Aces, the WNBA champs. He was willing to put up $1 million if they went and played like a high school boys team. And
he doesn't have $1 million.
Oh, he's got $1 million.
Dude, yeah,
is Outkick doing that well?
Oh, well, dude, he's loaded.
He's written books.
He's
he's done
a
a
star
good job
on that side.
And the only thing he's done is he's just kind of all he does is sort of virtue signal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's money to be made in that.
Oh, dude, if
People love it.
if you want the cheapest buck in the world, and you just are even a decent sized celebrity, you got a name, just lean far right. There is so much money to be made because they need voices. That's why Scott Baio and the Kevin Sorbos of the world, they're like, guys, I haven't had a job in Dean Cain. I haven't had a job in 10 years. And they're like, ultra right. And all of a sudden they're in Hallmark movies and people love them.
You have to know the right things to say to get that whole crowd fired up.
Yeah.
And he does. He's pushed those buttons.
15 mil, by the way, for Clay Travis.
15 mil. I did not realize Outkicked was kicking that far.
I do think
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all you know him. He's been around a while. I think he was a lawyer. I do. I feel like he had a good base before he even kind of did all the sports stuff. But and I think he's got a show. Didn't Fox News hire him or something?
I think he's on with was it Will Cain? I think him and Will Cain may do something together. Because Will's another guy. Look, if you pay me enough, I look like one anyway. So you pay me enough money, I'll spout whatever you want. You give me a couple $1 million a year, and sure, I'll storm some Capitol with you on the radio. I'll incite some riots. Let's go.
All right, we got to move on. Club 1080 is coming up next. Zelensky says Putin has tried to assassinate him 5 times. Is that hard? He says not.
Interesting.
Next on The Fan.
Sports and over here.
I'm not. I've moved on to Vladimir Zelensky. Or Voldemir. Voldemir? Is it Vladimir or Voldemir? I think it's Voldemir.
Is it Voldemir? Like the name that shouldn't be spoken like that?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what? Can't say that I've ever really heard his first name. He's just Zelensky.
President Zelensky.
Yeah. I don't know what his first name is. But apparently he should avoid windows and open elevator shafts.
So he's the head of Ukraine,
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, they're in a little tussle with Russia.
Now, we've moved on from that collectively. I haven't seen one thing about the Ukraine war since the Israeli-Hamas thing started. Not a single one.
I always thought it was weird, like, when that war in Ukraine started, it's like at first you see Zelensky and you're like, wow, what a brave dude. He's going on camera and, like, David Letterman went down to this underground area and interviewed him. And
yeah, it seems crazy.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this is really, that guy must be like dodging bullet. Like, how do they keep him safe? And then, whatever it is, 2.5, 3 years later.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it. You're like,
he was like on the Oscars, for God's sakes.
I know. It's like, I don't know. Is it still that hard for him every day?
I don't
because
know.
it seemed like it was at the time, and he's running around like shielded by people and has to hide everywhere.
Yeah, the whole country is getting bombed. I would assume that you can't.
Right?
You can't just be like, hey, I'm here.
I don't know what it's like for a president when you're at war.
Yeah, when you're at war, and by the way, like, they're actively trying to kill you at every turn.
And of course, it's the Ruskies.
Yeah.
So, and they're, they'll try to kill you in new and creative ways.
Well, Putin's whole thing is like this is what he does. He offs people that piss him off.
But he can't get to Zelensky.
I know. You think he's sitting there and he's like enraged over that?
I guarantee you he is.
He's like, are you kidding me? He's like, I can assassinate anyone and I can't get this idiot?
More people have died at the hands of Putin who couldn't assassinate Zelensky.
Boy, you imagine being that guy that has the mission to assassinate him, and you have to come back and be like, oops.
Oh, sorry, we didn't get him.
I missed it.
Well, Zelensky is now saying that Putin has tried to kill him at least 5 or 6 times. There have been 5 or 6 plots.
It reminds me of the Dr. Evil sketch from Austin Powers when he's talking with his kid, and he's like, no, really, he's accurate. I've been trying to kill him, but so far unsuccessfully. He's quite slippery like his old man.
So he's saying that his intelligence services have foiled all of the plots.
What, do we know what the plots are?
Well,
are they clever, or is it more like a G.I. Joe versus Cobra sort of thing?
So this is an exclusive interview, but it's with the world, so I don't know how that can be exclusive. I guess exclusive to this.
Wasn't the world just like a newspaper?
Galaxy. No, it just says in a world exclusive interview.
Oh. All right.
The president said the will of Ukraine to defeat Vladimir Putin's Russia remains strong. He says the first plot to kill him caused a panic.
I would assume so, yes.
And then he said, it's kind of like the first outbreak of COVID. And he said after that, you get COVID again and again. He's like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Of these plots to kill him. He said he had lost track of all the attempts on his life since Russia unleashed a full-scale invasion February 24th of last year. The president says the first one is very interesting when it's the first time. And after that, it's just like COVID. First of all, people don't know what to do with it, and it looks very scary at first. Then, after that, it's just intelligence sharing with you, and they detail one more group came to Ukraine to attempt this, and he's basically eye-rolling it. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Like this, do you ever watch Archer?
No.
Oh, Archer's a great show. Like, this reminds me of Archer. Like, he's like a secret agent, and there's constantly like some sort of death squad trying to kill him, and he doesn't care. I wonder if Zelensky's like, yeah, another day, another death squad coming at me. Like, I would think that there would be a high pucker factor, because if there was one guy on Earth that I wouldn't want mad at me, I think it's probably Putin.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is he kind of, like, look, he'll kill you and it will be bad, but I feel like they're kind of clumsy. Like, they can't even kill. Come on, man. You telling me they can't? You telling me the Americans couldn't have killed Zelensky by? Like, I hate to say that.
Hey, we tried to kill Castro a bunch of times. We couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, let's not act like we're all super secret and we're successful.
I just feel like we'd be better at it.
Well, I don't know who has more practice. Like, I understand that we kill people in a clandestine sort of way too, but
we're all the same.
The and then we got the Saudis with the bone saw.
Well, not quite the same.
But he kills people all the time. I don't know if anyone has more practice in eliminating people by assassination than that dude.
I feel like they're clumsy about it, though.
What about Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping?
Look, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be scared, but I'm telling you, my number one
is Putin.
Well, it might be Brock Lesnar. Number two, Putin. Yeah, Putin.
He's always got a knife on him.
If you had to say one person in the world
Joe
is
Biden.
actively trying to kill you, Vladimir Putin would be he'd be my number one.
So here's what. So Zelensky said that Russian special forces parachuted into Kiev, to kill him on the first day of Putin's invasion last year.
Makes sense.
He said
Cut off the head of the snake.
He said his bodyguards sealed off his office, makeshift barricades, and bits of plywood. See, again, come on, Putin. You can't get through plywood?
Yeah, maybe it was thick plywood.
His closest aides were issued rifles and body armor. One said the office was like a madhouse. But then British and U.S. officials offered to get him out of there.
Yeah, he said no.
And he said no. He said, I need ammo, not a ride.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's a famous line. So I need ammo, not a ride. Later, as battles raged, Zelensky walked outside the compound to film a defiant selfie video that rallied Ukraine's resistance by proving he was still in the capital. 2 years later, he said Russia still very much wants to topple him. He even knows the code name of their latest mission to oust him. The leader said the name of the operation is Maiden 3. It's meant to change the president. It's bye-bye. It's not by killing. I mean, it's changing. They will use any instrument they have. So that's the idea to the end of the year. They have even named it, but you see we can live with it.
I do suppose that after something happens...
Wait, what does he mean? So he means...
Yeah, he's like...
Well, I think this goes back to Zelensky saying that they're not going to hold elections.
Yeah.
Because, well, they're in a war.
Yes.
And he wants to keep everyone together.
Yeah.
So he's saying Maiden 3 is... The Russians have shifted to wanting to just interfere in the election.
Just try to
get
him out
of
and oust him.
Yeah, but he's saying we're not going to have elections. So nice try.
I would assume that, like anything else, once something happens to you and you learn to live, like, it's amazing what you can learn to live with. And I'm guessing that, if you've learned to live for a couple years with a death squad over your head, I'm guessing after a while it just becomes old hat, right? He's like,
he's like, I'm gonna go golfing.
Yeah, what are you gonna do, man? Trying to kill me, and that's got to be a surreal moment because he was like a comedian, right? He was like an actor.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, he's sitting there with Russia on his doorstep. Like, I guess that'd be the equivalent if you were just like some dude and like the Mexican cartels were trying to kill you. Like, you lived in Texas, and across the border from you, like the Sinaloa cartel or whatever was just, they're like, yeah, we're gonna kill you. And you just, like, every day of your life, you're like, well, this is happening. But after a couple years, like, what do you know?
Well, surely they're trying to hunt down Putin, right?
I don't think they have those capabilities.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think they
it's
can't.
certainly not as...
They can't reach him.
Yeah, it would be probably hard to...
And I guess Putin does take steps. I mean, he's got body doubles and the whole deal. And because I think that dude's just under a constant
he
paranoia.
knows he's got a mark. But
Yes.
So does Zelensky. And
He's an interesting dude. Like, if you ever want to read up on Putin and, like, why he is the way he is, it's a very interesting read.
Wait, Will Ortner has read about something outside of sports?
I find that hard to believe.
I listened to a podcast on the drive. Yeah, it was a good podcast. I mean,
so give us the...
if I remember right, like, his family was in Stalingrad during that siege during World War II. And so he grew up with a lot of his parents and his grandparents, like, retelling stories about that invasion to him. And so it kind of linked a lot of, like, what he's trying to do, where, like, if they get Ukraine and they recreate the CCP, right, he'll have that barrier between foreign invaders and the motherland in Russia. And so his whole thing is he wants to recreate the CCP, one, to show their strength, but also to have that barrier, that protection between foreign invaders and Russia. It was interesting. It was very interesting to learn about it.
Yeah, that was one of those that his whole legacy is he wants to bring back the old Soviet Union. Yeah, I've heard that from the get-go. That's his. He believes that it is their rightful property, and he's going to take it by any means necessary.
Well, they asked Zelensky. They said, "Hey, would you kill Putin if you had the chance?" And he said, "That's war."
That's just like that.
That's war.
Well, all I know is like when you cross Putin, you get thrown down an elevator shaft, you fall out a window, or God forbid you're on an airplane. Remember that Wagner guy who supposedly was like Putin's buddy after that, and then Putin was like, "This dumbass trusted me, and you're dead."
Yeah, exactly. That
Shot
guy
him down.
He told him where he was going.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Come on, Wagner.
Put him. I guess they didn't shoot a missile at it. I guess they put a bomb on the plane. He just blew up the plane. Like, just at least other people try to be slick about it. Putin doesn't give an F. Remember, like his top two COVID scientists, one fell down an elevator and one fell out a window like 3 days apart. And he's like, "Oops, there's your sitcom."
Very sad.
Remember we were talking about like what was that Hitler sitcom they tried to pull off?
Yeah.
They should have a Putin sitcom where he just kills people and then there's like that wah wah and he just like shrugs his shoulders like another one out the window. Uh-oh.
His wife's yelling at him.
Yeah. His mistress.
Vlad, take out the trash.
Again, number one guy in the world. I wouldn't cross that dude.
It's pretty amazing.
I go back to the Robert Kraft thing where he took his Super Bowl ring and walked away, and Robert Kraft said something, and the CIA people or whatever were like, "Dude, that ring's gone. You just let that go." That's his ring now. You go buy another one. You don't cross that guy.
Zelensky ain't worried.
Apparently not. Dude's got balls of steel.
All right, up next. Oh, I saw another crypto king is going down for money laundering.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be really hard to not money launder in that space.
I feel like that's the whole reason crypto exists.
Right. It's like kind of the whole thing.
It's like being a dog and like being told not to pee on things. It's what we do.
And if you had one alcoholic drink for the rest of your life, what are you drinking? What?
I was just thinking about something.
What are you thinking about?
I can't share that. Sometimes you have to self-edit, and that was a self-edit.
Probably pretty wise. Would have gotten you fired, I'm guessing.
Keep that holstered.
The club continues next on The Fan. our trip to the Northern Territory of Finland.
Hey, look at us.
We spent a week quite isolated in the famous Akanimi radio monitoring base.
Sure, that one.
Nearly 200 miles north of the Arctic Circle in northern Finland. We both live in the southern Finland, but we took a week off from work to travel over 1,000 kilometers north to Lapland just to catch rare AM signals.
Everyone lives in southern Finland. If you don't appreciate how high up Finland goes, just take a look on a map. It's a doozy.
Well, they did say north of the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
By 200 miles.
Yeah.
So this was our third annual trip. We also enjoy the beautiful nature and fresh air during our daily hikes. Please see attached couple of pictures of the Radio Shack.
Oh.
A real Radio Shack, not like, you know.
How's the Radio Shack looking?
In the mall. Looks better than the
those
business.
Those are gone. I
And
don't think there's any left.
Well, that's why I said that.
Yeah.
And use checking the long wire antennas outside. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then, I don't see the pictures on here, but the boss, so Kim was like, yeah, whatever. Here, talk to Jeff Austin. She doesn't have time for that. So Jeff said, hey, Kim forwarded your email to me. I can confirm your reception of 1080 AM KFXX in Portland, Oregon, United States of America.
So you can't get us in Salem, but you can get us in northern Finland.
Hey, we're on in Salem.
We get a lot of complaints about the signal down there.
Well, I think
in
they
Salem.
tone it down at about 5.
Well, apparently it's going strong in Finland. What's up, Finns? It's
fun to hear what we sound like on the other side of the world.
That's kind of crazy.
He sent an audio file. I don't know it doesn't say what. Hopefully it was one of your rants about, I don't know, like black people or something.
Wow.
What? Well, we've got him on tape. Are you going to deny?
I just have always preferred the whites.
If you've seen the population of Finland,
I wish I could have more white things.
If you want more white things, move to Scandinavia, my friends.
The color white to me just always works.
Yeah, there's a reason why I'm Swedish. It works.
I'm asking where the white power rankings go.
Well, maybe they loved
probably won.
They're probably like, oh my God, this is our guy.
Finland, by the way, they border Russia.
Could you mix in a black?
They have to deal with that crazy son of a gun all the time.
He did say that. So he responded. He said, and Jeff went on to, suck up to him.
Sure.
And then he said, hey, Jeff, thank you very much for your response. It made us happy. Finland has been a great country to live in, although perhaps a bit too close to Russia.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we are now part of NATO, and that adds more security here. Feel free to visit anytime.
Because Finland does have their whole border. I believe their whole border is Russia. I'm guessing that's probably a little funky when they start invading like the Ukraine and all that. I'm guessing you're like, oh boy. It's like the Finns are necessarily known for being the toughest military in the world.
What if Mexico and Canada were in a war?
Boy.
Against each other.
Be a little interesting.
Yeah.
Something tells me that wouldn't happen, but
I don't know, but let's just
hypothetically
use our brains.
I think we're siding with the Canadians. I'm guessing we seem to have a better relationship with them.
Yeah, but what if then the Mexican guys come up to your front door and are like, hey, we need to stay at your house. We're on our way to Canada.
And heading on up.
Here's a couple $1,000.
Here's some heroin and some fentanyl. And I will say that having been to both places, I do go to Mexico a lot more than I do Canada. So
it's warmer.
I'm siding with the Mexicans.
Again, I
love Vancouver. I go there quite a bit, but I like the Baja.
The only thing working against Canada is its geographic location. Canada's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's too cold.
Yeah. And
I'm not going up there.
And the food, no offense, but street tacos versus poutine, I'm taking street tacos.
No, that's fair.
Mexican greater than Canada. It just is. But I love them both. They're fantastic. We annex the good parts. We really only need like a couple cities, maybe 2 provinces in Canada, and the rest can go pound sand.
Can I just? I mean, I don't want to rain on the whole Finnish parade here, but
you're about to.
Well, they can go online and get they can just sit on their couch and get our station.
Yeah, but what fun is that?
Well, I just think it's cool that they venture all the way up north of the Arctic Circle to just catch faint AM radio signals from the United States. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Those are like all on your computer.
I think the point is you're missing the fun of it. It's not catching our radio station.
It's like which one's
seeing
next.
What you get.
Yeah.
You're at the top of the world there, and like you're just seeing what comes your way.
Seems pretty boring.
It's like
Don't yuck someone's yum.
You're right.
There was
You're right about that.
in the growing up in the Mormon church, they're big obviously into like the whole doomsday, like,
No way.
end of the world.
Wait, what?
Huh?
What?
And there
No.
in every ward there was like one dude who was assigned to be like the ham radio operator guy in case like the world ended, like they would be able to communicate Jesus style, like back and forth. And let me tell you, in every church that I was ever in, the guy that was in charge of the ham radio was exactly who you could walk into a congregation of 200 people and I'd be like, dude,
there's the ham guy?
Who's in charge of that? It would take you 2 guesses because maybe there'd be another guy that you'd be like, what about that guy? And you're like, no, that's just the weird dude that can't be alone with the kids. But the other guy, ham radio guy, every time.
Was he dorkier than all the other?
Yeah.
Like he was the biggest dork of all the dorks?
And that says something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it really does.
It really does. Yeah. But yes, he was not hard to pick out. And yet there was always one, and he would try to recruit other people. He'd be like, hey guys, I'm having a ham radio, whatever. And you're like, God, you're that guy? But there was always one in case of times of trouble.
Hey, there's a lot of ham radio bros out there.
Yeah.
They're a big club.
And they are waiting. Be careful.
Yes.
Do it.
I've always said
they
this.
signed that brown guy, and then I went right past it.
I've always said this about my family.
Yes.
Jeez.
I look at Ordinary. He's like, what?
Holy
Is
God.
that you? I didn't play that.
Big Sook.
Really?
God.
We're doing that?
Head coach?
God. What?
If I ever died traveling overseas, at my funeral, they won't admit it, but there will be members of my family that will secretly be like, I told him. And they'll be a little happy that they're like, he didn't listen to me. This is what he gets. And ham radio
Told
guy.
you about what?
Everyone thinks that I'm going to die because I go to foreign countries. Everyone in my family assumes that when you go to a foreign country, you're going to get trafficked, you're going to get kidnapped, World War III is going to break out. Anytime I go anywhere, you're going to die. Why are you doing that? And I'm like, you guys are so stupid. Like, travel sometimes. And just deep down, they would be at the funeral looking at each other, and no one would say it aloud, but then I'll be like, yep, told him. And there'd be a little sense of satisfaction. That's ham radio guy. When the world ends, and like nuclear fallout, people are dying, cannibals,
Super Bowl.
the whole thing, ham radio guy is going to be inside his fortified bunker being like, dumbasses, I told you. And he'll be like, deep down, he'll be happy that he's like, yes, all of this was worthwhile. That guy is deep down rooting in places he won't talk about. He's rooting for the end of the world so that he can rise up and show us that the ham radio skills he's been acquiring for 30 years weren't a waste of his time.
Somebody said there's a phantom radio signal from Russia that resets every day. No one knows what it means. It's been happening since the 60s.
Aliens.
It's kind of cool.
Either that or it's kind of spooky. Isn't that like a whole lost thing?
Why wouldn't it be just kind of dumb?
Hey, don't yuck on someone else's yum.
I'll yuck wherever I want.
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
Yuck on someone's yum?
No, I can't say I've ever heard that one.
Well, you know me, I'm a wordsmith.
Well, that's what happens when you're a member of the judicial. What did you say?
I'm not allowed to have a hiccup. Like, you guys hiccup all the time. I'm not allowed to have a hiccup in the middle of saying judicial
Let's
system.
not get defensive.
Will's a little sensitive over there. Well, I think Will knows today's been a little rough for him, and I think he's a little sensy right now.
Shut up.
It's been rough for me.
I think Will's
He's
got
like
some-
the coach going off in the post-game press conference.
It's-
We
it's-
started out well, coach.
Yeah.
What happened? They are. We thought they were.
Hey, Feeboo.
Will had a couple holding penalties today, maybe a false start. He's a little upset.
Feeboo.
It's all right.
It's called UVB 76. It's been a constant.
And we don't know what it.
They don't know.
It's just what's this? It's just a signal. It doesn't say anything.
It's a. Let me read.
Yeah.
Think about that. See if I can get back to you.
I think it'd be kind of fun, like if you were worth a bunch of money and your dying legacy would just be like to have a permanent transmitter sending out a message to the rest of the world. And you just forever, you just set up something just like a fund where it's going to keep it going. So like you just live on forever broadcasting, saying the dumbest thing in the world and it sends it out every day.
So apparently it's just a buzz.
Oh, you know what? I think I've heard. I think we may have mentioned that, or you may have mentioned it on the show. That sounds vaguely familiar.
And recently, maybe they heard a second buzz, and it starts and stops, and no one knows why.
It's an SOS signal from like Skull Island.
I'm standing by. This is dumb. Change the channel.
I'm starting to agree. I'm coming around to Will on this.
Yeah.
Pretty dumb. Who cares? It's probably just some.
Unless it turns out to be something really important.
Maybe it's Satan.
Maybe it's from the future. Maybe it's from the past.
Ooh.
Oh.
Which would be cooler?
Aliens.
Probably future, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Future. Or something like the Mayans put together. I don't know. Like the aliens that like created us, little Prometheus style.
So the prevailing theory right now is that the buzzing is just there to keep the frequency clear in case it's needed.
No,
see, it's always an easy answer like
New
that.
World Order sort of thing.
I mean, that may not be right.
Aliens is way cooler.
Right.
Waiting for the mothership to come down, shake things up a little bit.
Another theory is that the buzzing studies the ionosphere, or that it's part of a doomsday system that would launch nuclear missiles.
See, that's kind of what I was saying. Like you know.
Now, is it stupid, Will?
Can you prove that that's what it is? Because if you can prove that that's what it is, then yes,
well,
it's
isn't
not
the fun
stupid.
in the mystery? The fun is in the, well, we don't know.
It's whimsy.
Well, no, because then this just goes back to like the crazy plane lady where she just got into an argument, but because they caught her on camera yelling like, that dude isn't real, then we all assume that she saw an alien. It's just dumb. She got into a fight. This is dumb. It's just a radio signal that's going.
I have no idea how you compared those two things together, but all right.
I'm also lost.
It made
it made sense.
You went from a radio signel to a. That's another whole. Well, you're struggling right now, bud. We love you.
The kids understood.
It's
the kids. Hey, they don't listen to us.
I did.
Someone does.
Oh, Will did.
Yeah, I run across.
The kids
some.
listen to Dirt and Sprague.
I
Right?
run across some whippersnappers from time to time.
All right.
16-year-old.
All right. Let's talk booze.
Please.
Next, here's Will.
This is Rivalry Week on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
Brought to you by PG Long.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Sports Center is brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan, we had some movement today in the college football rankings. The Huskies jumped into the top 4 with their win on the road against the 11th-ranked Beavers. Florida State drops to 5th with their starting QB Jordan Travis going down for the year. Oregon stays at 6th. Arizona is at 15th. And OSU drops to 16th. Over in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers and OC Matt Canada have parted ways. The Steelers rank in the bottom 4th in the NFL in most major offensive categories, despite being over 500 in the win column. The New Orleans Saints have moved wide receiver Michael Thomas to the IR after he suffered a knee injury in their Week 10 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. This is the 4th straight season Thomas will spend time on the IR. New York Jets QB Aaron Rodgers says that he's about 2 weeks away from practicing with the team again, just 3 months after having surgery on his left Achilles. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the best football
Oh,
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
cool.
One here offer if you want, and they've got them broken into categories. One of these scientific things was that we have no idea, and they're saying that we will never know is anuses. Where did they come from? We have no idea where the anus started.
But
Yeah.
what?
But exactly. Well, all organisms started from single-cell organisms, and they all eat and defecate out of the same hole. And at some point, we got a back door, and we have no idea how, when, or why we got the back door.
Yeah, that. I don't know.
That is they say that is one of the top 5 scientific mysteries that we have no answer to, and is like for.
Well, how would we ever know that?
And that's what they're saying, that we won't, because it's not fossilized, and they like that is one of those things that for scientists is like the holy grail. Because they said that once that happened, we actually could go from fairly simple things to very complex things, but we have no idea when or how that started. But at some point, something for the very first time developed a winker, and that changed the course of history forever.
Imagine being the first guy that came across the winker.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, be the first, like,
or
the first animal or whatever.
Yeah,
He's
like you're
"Hey,
getting
look
in
at
there, you're like, what is that?
And all your little friends are like, what are you doing? You're like, what? I do it out the back. What are you're doing it out your mouth? And they're like, yes, it happens out of your mouth.
She has a back? Gross.
And have you ever heard of slime mold?
No.
I hadn't heard of this either.
Like Nickelodeon?
Apparently there's something called slime mold, and it is a single-cell organism. And we don't really know much about it other than you think single-cell organism. But it can bond together with other single cells, and it can think. It can tell time. It can solve mazes, and we have no idea why. It is literally like a single-cell organism that has thought. And we have no idea why.
That's wild.
Yeah, slime mold.
That's wilder than the anus.
Yeah, it was epic mysteries that science cannot solve. Slime mold. Yeah, I had no idea. So anuses and slime mold. There you go.
Buttholes and goo.
Isn't that crazy though that you can take a bunch of little cells and they can think?
Shut up.
Well, yeah. We just said it was crazy.
I don't know. I'm going to spend tonight I'm going to be looking up slime mold because I'm like, why haven't I heard of this? No brain, no nothing, no neurons to think, and yet they can figure stuff out.
I think it just goes to show you creationism is a thing.
God created slime mold?
How else do you explain it? All right.
The anus?
Apparently you can't. So, point me.
I did see an article. I did see a little video today of a guy, and he's like the Earth doesn't spin because the Earth spins supposedly at whatever it is, like 10,000 miles an hour or whatever. And it was a guy driving his car, and he sticks his head out the window and goes, "This is what 65 miles an hour feels like in the wind, and you can hear it." And then he stands out on the ground and is like, "It's like the Earth isn't spinning. Look at this, 10,000 miles an hour." That was his whole proof.
Guy knows ball.
It was a serious video from one of these nut jobs.
Clay Travis?
That was all the evidence he needed. Was when you stick your head out the window at 65 miles an hour, it sounds and you can feel the wind. But standing on the Earth, nothing. All the evidence I need.
You know what fascinates me about people like that is not that they think that.
That he votes?
Well, no, we give everyone the right to vote.
That's right.
Or most everyone. It's not that he thinks that. It's that it's the idea that if I don't know something, I am just going to. What am I trying to say? Like, he knows he doesn't know that.
I think you're wrong. You should watch this video.
And yet he touts it anyway. Like, he's so right. Like, that element of it blows me away about people.
How stupid,
like, look,
how stupid you can be and how certain you can be about your stupidity.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
That's a better way to put it than I did. Yes. How certain you can be about something you know you have no idea.
Yeah.
Deep down. Or, I mean, I guess maybe he's just so stupid he doesn't even know. He thinks he's a scientist. Like, how would you possibly know that? You're adult.
He put his head out a window. Hello.
But yet he's so sure of it. Like, that is fascinating.
Dead set, and you would never.
There's so many people like
You could get
that.
the smartest people in the world to talk to that guy, and they would not.
No, he
convince him.
doesn't care.
No.
That's another thing. Yeah, he'd be like, idiots. You don't know. Fake news.
Our man Duop Reith, by the way, 10 points in the first quarter.
How many are they down?
Oh no, it's 39-40. They were down big, but they've made.
They're only down 1.
Yeah, they made a big comeback. Thanks to our man.
That's a live bet opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I'll see what the live odds are right now, but yes.
I bet it's still like 10.
We'll see.
All right, we got to go. We'll get to alcohol talk tomorrow. It's 6:49 on the Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on the Fan.
Swings it out to Buck.